Okay, yeah, we're live.
I feel alive.
Tell your friends we're listening. Yeah, we're listening. Tell your friends you're listening to the Verhoeven Effect podcast. I'm Conlon.
Nathan.
We have another very special episode. We have the 2014 movie Edge of Tomorrow. Nathan, do you have a history with Edge of Tomorrow?
Yes, me and my son saw this in the theater,
Okay.
2014, and it was packed.
Okay, really? Huh?
Reading about this, and they're like, it was a marginal success. It was like, man, it was a full house when we went, but
Yeah, no, yeah. That's what I heard about it. I was like, that was an awesome movie, and then it's like, it didn't do its thing at the box office. It's like, was it expensive? Like, what's the problem? So, I think did very well on like DVD and
streaming services
yeah.
it really cleaned up. It was on a lot of different streaming services for a long time, and it was watched a bunch. So I think it was one of those word of mouth things.
Yeah.
Because it's hard not to love this movie. Look, a video game.
Yeah. Um and if you like Groundhog's Day, it's right there. So
Yeah, this is like Groundhog's Day for people that don't want like a nuanced, innocent story. I want brutal violence over and over and over again.
yeah, and it's pretty violent for a PG-13 movie, so
Yeah,
and I do not know. I have not. I guess I should have spent the effort. This is based on like, is it a novel or a manga?
it is actually something weird because I looked up. I wanted to learn a little about it. It's called a science fiction light novel,
Okay.
which means it's aimed for. It's a mixture of written words and then art that goes in it, and it's aimed at the young adult audience.
Okay.
And it was written by Hiroshi Sakurazaka, who was an IT guy who got into writing.
Okay.
He liked video games, obviously. Yes, but this is called a light novel, so which is
And
what we would call young adult fiction,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think, or Japanese and concepts and American concepts. They never like butt heads. They always like
But
meet somewhere. It's like it's kind of this and kind of
but
that.
it's not a manga. It's more words than pictures.
It's more like you're reading something and then it's interspersed with art that does
Okay.
not have like text in box.
Okay.
At least the copy I saw. So it's like that's
Um,
kind of cool. Very Machine and Krieger looking and stuff. So
yeah, and it's translated here as "All You Need Is Kill," which is a great title because it's like, oh, this long lost Beatles song or something like that.
all you need is kill. Remember, The Prisoner, final episode, original series in the 60s, played All You Need Is Love while number six machine gunned his enemies down. I think that song had been released like the year that show came. So BBC got the rights to use a Beatles song. Crazy, because you would never see that again.
No, it costs like $5 million to license that nowadays.
Because people are dressed in clown costumes, and number six is there with like a grease gun. All is love. It's like, huh? Or I think that's the song. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a
But
Beatles song, so
yeah.
um, so yeah, I did not investigate that. I completely forgot about it, but I always do love the title of it. I don't know how much it. I don't know if it just takes the concept, or if anything else carries over to this movie. So
From what I understand, the book is much darker than the movie.
yeah.
So, which because of course, there involves a great deal of sacrifice in the end. It's like that's a Japanese story.
Oh yeah. This movie totally it uses its own devices to bail out of a dark ending, so that's fine. So, um, so yeah, it came out June 6th, 2014. I think I probably saw it opening day. Director's Doug Lyman. Like I don't know, I like some of his stuff, and I actually don't. I didn't really like the first Bourne movie. I did like all the Paul Greengrass ones. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it was fine. You go back and watch it; it's totally fine. Then what else did Doug Lyman? Oh yeah, I did like. Oh, what is it now? I want director, not. Did that one with Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, didn't he? Or is
Mr.
that
and Mrs. Smith,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he's done some like cool. I mean, he got better as time went on because I know he did Jumper, which is like a 2008 movie.
Oh yeah, that's like way better than it has any right to be. It's still
Yeah,
stupid, but it's cool.
you watch it and it's like, oh, this is like a Jerry Bruckheimer movie, but a little more intelligent.
Well,
Uh,
it's clever, but it's stupid at the same time.
yeah, it's not like brilliant. That's why I said it. It's Jerry Bruckheimer, but it's just like a little bit more
There's
intelligent.
clever execution of what people do, but people are still really stupid.
Yeah,
So,
it seems like the jumpers, like the people with that ability, like do they all have learning problems too? Because they're making poor decisions with serious like consequences.
but I remember hearing about him with Swingers, which that was like a big kind of like indie movie.
Yes.
Kind of hit it big, and then like everybody in that movie like went on to do bigger and better things. So, including what's the one guy?
Vince Vaughn, John Favreau.
Yeah, Favreau's now like the biggest movie director in the world, and he was an actor back then. So, which I don't think I've ever watched Swingers.
Oh, I did. It's a good.
Okay. I've always seen scenes from it and just never bothered to see it. I did see Go, which Go is kind of interesting, where it's like, it's kind of like that Tarantino thing of, well, I guess it's not him exclusively, but it has that like we're gonna tell the story out of order, and that's really the only thing as going for it. So,
it's like, isn't like William Fichtner and Jay Moore in it or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like an eclectic cast.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, he's done, you know.
He also did American Made, which was another Tom Cruise movie he did.
Oh, right. I never watched that.
Oh, it's a great movie.
Huh.
It's about the Mary Seal. It's amazing.
He did The Wall? I don't remember. Oh, that might be a different one. Yeah, I'm thinking of it. Oh, no, this is the one I'm thinking of.
That's the snipers in Iraq, right?
Yeah, it's like John Cena gets shot and he's like these guys can't are like behind a brick wall and they can't move or they'll get shot by a sniper.
Yeah, because there was a British movie they made. It was the exact same movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they just took it and put like John Cena or something in it.
Yeah.
I think in this British movie though they were trapped in a minefield.
Okay.
But it was one of those ones that they airdropped the mines and they were made out of plastic so you couldn't detect them. Those are nice.
Oh, okay.
Just blow your feet off, it's nasty.
I didn't realize Doug Liman directed the Amazon Roadhouse movie, which I hear is all right.
Yeah, well, I've heard it's if you like Jake Gyllenhaal, it's fun because he's absolutely nuts in the movie.
And then his latest thing I haven't even heard of. It's some Apple series with Matt Damon and Casey Affleck.
Yeah, I don't. It looks like a good cast, but I don't know.
And I've never seen any of the Apple stuff, so
yeah,
I think it was a crap. Now I can't remember his name. Something Miller. Did the Kingsman stuff, but like he was like the guy who I said like I've never seen a bad movie from him, and then I never saw the latest Kingsman movie, Matthew Vaughn. I haven't seen that one, and then he did one for Apple that I heard was terrible, so I didn't even watch it. So
the latest
Argyle
is cool.
Okay.
The one where it's set like before World War One.
Yeah.
That one's actually kind of cool.
Okay.
It has fun with history in a way.
But it did this one called Argyle, which all I've heard is stupid things about it, so I didn't even bother. So.
Like I said, I got 3 streaming services, and that's it. And that cost me a fortune. Anymore, I don't. I sure it's wonderful, but it's like I don't have time either. I'm doing a lot of home improvement stuff also. So.
Yeah, I mean, like that. I basically have it for Severance now, which I haven't finished watching the rest of the season because they do like a traditional release of once a week thing, and then you just end up in having a year's worth of Apple watching 6 weeks of television. Yeah. So.
Kind of done. I mean, I get a lot of traction out of like HBO and Netflix. There's always something we watch.
Yeah.
Like because Tires came out, the new season of that. That's always funny. And then like Tokyo Vice is one of the coolest things I've seen in a while. And so yeah, there's always something on there, but I don't feel like I fully engage it like I should. But it's like, yeah, I'm gonna get rid of that. Nope, nope, I need that. That show's coming out, so they always get you. So I can't expand it anymore. I pay
There's
so much for that now.
yeah, there's some anime that's on Max. It's actually shown on Adult Swim. I think it's called like Lazarus Project or something. No, just Lazarus, I think.
Okay.
Anyways, it's about some scientist made a super drug that like people did. It was used for like legit medical purposes, and people did recreationally because it would basically like cure all diseases.
Okay.
And then like the guy who designed it like disappears for 7 years and then leaves like a cryptic message suddenly broadcast to the world. It's like anybody who ever took my drug is going to die in 7 months.
I've heard of this. Yeah, yeah. 'Cause it's very like esoteric in how
Yeah.
it's presented, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like straightforward.
No, it's like everything that happens, you don't know like how does this actually like how does this involve everything else?
Yeah, because there's people having weird conversations, and then stuff happens, and then yeah, okay, yeah. I think we dipped into this before.
But it does. I mean, I think it's from the people that did Cowboy Bebop, so it's very stylish, but not necessarily like it doesn't explain itself. But that's totally fine. Anime doesn't have to explain
No,
itself. So.
it's animes. He kind of gets a pass on that.
But especially, I mean, with this guy, like it's more about like the animation, where it's like it's like, you know, it's almost like they rotoscoped it with how like detailed like the movement and stuff is to that, and just how people move and the sort of like the character of the movement itself is amazing. So, and occasionally the ideas they bring up are interesting. So, cinematographer is Dion Beebe. What do you think? He's Australian / South African.
Okay, he's probably a cool guy. Probably has a wild accent.
I think he's got an Oscar. At least his photo in his Internet Movie Database is him holding an Oscar. He worked with Michael Mann quite a bit. He's done a bunch of crazy stuff.
Oh, he did like Equilibrium. He was the cinematographer on that. And that was a cool looking movie. That was a best $50,000 movie. That, but Miami Vice, that was a good looking movie.
Yeah.
Never saw Green Lantern or Land of the Lost.
Oh,
it seems like he's done a lot of big budget movies. So.
Yeah, yeah.
He did The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, that 13 Hours movie.
He did Chicago, so that's probably what he won the Oscar for. So.
Yeah.
Did we last see him in Collateral? That's one of his movies.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
It's probably the last movie we watched that he should. Well, yeah.
Yeah, because we never did Miami Vice.
No, it's on the docket, but we want to do the special version that's supposed to be monumentally better, but I always take the position that the director's cut of a movie is never monumentally better than the actual release of the movie. It's always like that's more information, that's more context, that's always good. It's not necessarily a better movie. So.
And he's doing the cinematography currently on the Michael Jackson biopic directed by Antoine Fuqua.
Okay, well,
so that should be interesting.
Yeah, that's two creative talents visually. So
yeah, I mean, Anton Fuqua's made some cool looking movies.
Yes, cool looking movies. His movies are rarely good, but they always look amazing.
Yeah, this is crazy. I can't believe how good this looks.
I just remember
story.
What's that?
No, because he did like that movie that I thought was really cool. That was the one with Mark Wahlberg.
Shooter?
No, it's Mark Wahlberg and Chiwetel Ejiofor. And they have to they're taking like these drugs, and they can travel to different places and times in their own like psyche or something.
I don't remember this.
Yeah. Oh, it literally like was like Golden Raspberry Awards for being so dumb, but cool in a way. I mean, it doesn't. The problem is the story just disintegrates.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because I did not like. I hated Shooter Tears
Yeah.
of the Sun, I was disappointing. Again, great looking movie.
Yeah.
Did he do
Oh,
Training Day?
news. The U.S. has bombed Iranian nuclear sites. Great.
Okay. We do like that King Arthur movie he did.
Yeah, that looks another good-looking
Yeah.
movie.
But yeah, oh yeah, Training Day. So that's why I didn't want to assume you made that. That's a great movie. That's a
Yeah,
fantastic.
no, Training Day is good.
That's fantastic all around. Writing, looking, acting, directing.
Didn't he do that one with Jake Gyllenhaal where he was a boxer? That was pretty good.
Yeah, Southpaw. Yeah. We talked
Yeah.
about. We incidentally talked about that
Yeah.
last week, I think. Like you want to see Jake Gyllenhaal with 0% body fat? That's your movie.
Yeah. So anyway, he's working with Don Beebe on the hugely expensive Michael Jackson biopic.
Okay. Oh, it's just called Michael. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's what it says now.
I didn't realize he directed all the Equalizer movies.
Oh yeah.
And 12
yeah,
Food
that's
Claws.
his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Well, he's whenever.
Have you watched any of those? I always see bits of it, but they always look
watched
kind of
the first
stupid.
one and I liked it, but I didn't like it enough to where it's like I want 2 more of these
Okay.
because I do like.
Did you know it's based on an old series, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I remember the TV series.
Okay.
Was the
Okay.
guy that drove a Jaguar.
Okay.
It was like an ex spy of some kind. I don't know if he was MI6 or he was CIA. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I just didn't say. But no, he's Anton Fuqua was like, hey, Denzel Washington wants to make a movie. He's like, I'm in.
Okay, here's the movie you're talking about. Infinite. Infinite's the movie you're talking about. Apparently, it's a Paramount Plus original movie.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's terrible and great at the same time.
Okay, I'll have to watch.
No,
I'll have to put it on the background at some point.
Yeah, no, you don't need to waste a lot of time. It's nuts and cool, and it's one of the bleakest movies I've ever seen shot. It's like it's a city of drug addicts and schizophrenics. It's like cool, and these guys are paramedics, and life is hopeless.
Don Beebe also did the Gemini Man movie. So he takes, which I think that was one of those movies where it was shot at 60 frames per second and IMAX and a bunch of other crazy things. And so this guy takes on a lot of chances with technology and filmmaking. So he's usually successful at it, which people are indifferent about that. I remember I'll probably hate it now. I remember they shot The Hobbit at 60 frames per second. Or actually, no, they shot at 120 frames per second.
Yeah.
For 3D purposes. So it smoothed out the 3D or something like that. Or something like that. One of those things. It made it smoother, which I know last week we talked about motion smoothing as a horrific thing. But this is different when it's shot in it. And so when I remember watching The Hobbit is all the action was much more clearer and how they shot it. And that's why I appreciated it for, and it didn't seem, cause that's still kind of a shaky cam era. And here, if you do shaky cam with 60 frames per second, guess what? You can still tell what everything is going on. So.
Yeah. There's no blurring motion in that. It's all still.
But some people would get sick at the movie theater with that. So, written by Christopher McQuarrie, who we last. Oh, was it Way of the Gun? That's the thing he directed and wrote. But was that the last thing we saw him?
I believe that's the last thing we saw direct.
Was that the last thing we saw him write?
Let me see. What else was there? Yes, that has to be.
Okay.
Because we haven't done Valkyrie and we haven't done the Tom Cruise Jack Reacher yet.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Because he wrote and directed that.
Yeah, he kind of Way of Gun kind of killed his career, and then he kind of got resurrected by Tom Cruise. It's this guy's a good writer, and then he just and then he ended up in Mission Impossible and just started again here. So he was working with here. Here he's working. So yeah, he's listed first because we get an and where it's the letter and, which means they wrote separately, and then the second group is a group with an ampersand, so they all together, and that's the Butterworths here, the Jez Butterworth and Joe Henry Butterworth Actually, I guess I didn't look up what they did. Um, but so they must have like done a first draft on it, and then oh yeah, they last wrote Ford versus Ferrari. So
Okay. I thought I'd heard those names.
and then they worked on the latest Indiana Jones movie.
Okay.
Um, um, but yeah, and adapted from the what'd you call it? A light novel, light sci-fi novel.
Japanese. What do they call it? Yes, Japanese light novel.
Okay. And the cast is Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt, and Bill Paxton. Was this like done through Cruise's like production company, or was he just kind of like hired to do this movie?
Well, let's see. Who did production companies? Warner Brothers, Village Roadshow, Rat Pack, 3 Arts, Viz, Translux.
Who released this? Was this Fox?
Distributed by Warner Brothers Pictures.
Oh, okay. I thought this was like a Fox thing. All right. Because he kind of got, because at some point he like owns, what, United Artists or something like that, and then he usually like distributes through like Paramount, I think. So I think this is like slightly different from what he usually did.
Oh, okay.
I think who distributes the Mission Impossible movies? Is that like Universal?
That's a good question. Let me go to Christopher McQuarrie. Let's see. That's Paramount Skydance. TC Productions is his company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now he's a producer on all the Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Or his company, I imagine he is also a producer because he's done like 20 of those.
I thought he had like some like big, like he owns like a bunch of like stock in some like old like film studio or something like that, and like it's still around only because of him. So.
He might. I mean, this guy's made a lot of money. I mean, he's been famous since the 80s.
Yeah,
so he's
I mean, for the amount of like, I mean, like Mission Impossible was really his biggest like franchise, and everything else is usually kind of a one-off.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and there was like what, like 40 years between the Top Guns. So
yeah, that's not really a franchise. When I go from being a small child to like a middle-aged man, it's like, yeah, that's not really that's not what I call a franchise.
And so for like, for that, like he actually does like these kind of big one-off movies that make lots of money, which they, which I guess he's kind of stuck to Mission Impossible now, but now they ended that. But he's also in his 60s, so
yeah, I mean he's not gonna
still doing stunts with that.
Not gonna be this ageless Dracula for.
I don't know, like all those fucking Vietnam helicopter pilots were still doing it till their 70s, so That's he can fly helicopters, so. Oh, he's got some movie they're doing in space next, right? So did they actually go? But they were supposed to actually go to space, or I can't remember if they did that or yet. No.
I mean, he's always got movies going. Because I think he spent like 4 years filming those last 2 Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah. But yeah, what was doing? So yeah, this might have been a low period for Tom Cruise at the time. I'm trying to because this. I'll have to look at it. This might be around him doing Reacher, even though Reacher got a sequel, so I feel like that would be kind of a success.
Yeah, let's see. He did Valkyrie, Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol, Jack Reacher, Oblivion, and Edge of Tomorrow. And I remember Oblivion did not make a bunch of money.
No, but looked good. And
yeah.
it paired him up with a guy that he would work with to do the Top Gun Maverick movie, which is still, I think, like the biggest movie of all time right now. At least in terms of total money. I don't know when you include, like, because when you, like, adjust for inflation, like, Gone with the Wind is always, like, the biggest movie of all time.
Yeah, Maverick made $1.5 billion. So That's great. Like movies have made over 1 billion a lot, but I don't think all made. I still think like Titanic's crazy. I think that has.
Yeah, well, I mean, that had like the longevity of like, oh, it was in theaters for a year,
Yeah,
which you don't have that now. Now you have like, oh, this movie made $300 million on opening weekend worldwide. So but that's a different context. So
and then let's see. After this, Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation, Jack Reacher, Never Go Back, and then the Mummy.
oh, okay,
That was, and that actually, I don't think it made its money, but I don't think it was a complete loss either.
I mean, it did kill the entire like universe they had set up for it. So
Oh yeah, yeah. What did it make? Let's see. The Mummy. Yeah, so they spent $200 million between production and advertising. They made 410 million, but I don't think that's the complete advertising budget because I remember that was everywhere because they were trying to launch that whole, like you said, that.
I think they call it the Dark Universe or something like that.
Yeah, whatever company owned the rights to all that.
Yeah, I think it was Universal because like all the Universal monsters being like put together as like
They're gonna do a frightening Frankenstein's monster and a crazy Wolfman.
yeah, and was it Dorian Gray stuff like
Yeah.
that? So kind of do that League of Extraordinary Gentlemen thing. um, do you think they're gonna keep trying that? You think they're gonna make like cinematic universes? It seems to not be working out right now.
I feel like that was. It's everyone's been predicting the downfall of superhero movies for like 5 years, but they
Yeah.
keep cranking them out. I just don't know if it's getting to the point. Like, is the juice worth the squeeze? Because they keep coming up with, crazier and crazier stuff to
Yeah.
go. And then the TV, but see the TV series, like, yeah, it's The Boys is like, well, that's what everyone really wanted superhero
Yeah.
movies to evolve into, is just like sex pervert superheroes and psychopath superheroes. And it's like, well, you can't do that in a $500 million
Yeah.
movie. Do that on Amazon, and people will watch it by
And-
the millions. So
And Peacemaker is great.
Peacemaker's incredible. Actually, better, I think, I don't think it's as mean. Peacekeeper's more sincere, equally as gross and freaky.
Yeah.
But the
Well,
Boys,
not equally as gross, but it does. Yeah.
depends on what you consider gross. But like the Boys is
You
like,
don't have a guy who can multiply eating his own ass.
Yeah. They didn't go that far. But that's really not what bothers me about the Boys. What bothers me about the Boys is just the underlying darkness and the fact that you hate everyone by the time it's over.
yeah.
It's like, at least Peacemaker's an idiot, but it's like, well, I sort of like the guy. It's like he's going to come to the worst conclusions, but only based on the fact that he's kind of a cretin.
Yeah.
And then you meet his dad, and you're like, well, okay, this is why this guy is
He's actually turned out incredibly well for what his father is.
a wonderful human being, actually.
I am interested in the Superman movie because it is, forgetting his name, the guy who did the Peacemaker series and the Suicide Squad, the second movie,
Okay.
doing that.
Yeah.
James Gunn.
Yeah,
I think-
James Gunn.
And like, it is interesting because there are always people like, you can't make Superman movies because the world is too cynical. So now they've adjusted it to, was like, well, what if Superman lived in a cynical world?
But Superman also was a wise ass.
I don't think that. Yeah, he's kind of a wise, but make it their kind of what seemed interesting, at least from the previews, is that like Superman's just doing the right thing with the abilities he has to not harm and to save people, and then now people are over analyzing everything he does as like purpose and the ramifications of it. It's like, what are you doing? I'm not. I'm just trying to keep people alive. What the hell are you? It's like, this isn't a political statement to keep people alive.
I did like the Superman series or movie that I like the first one. That what's his name? The guy did.
Oh, like Virgil Superman, like Christopher Reeve Superman.
No, those were good too for their time, but no, the one they did a lot more recently.
Oh, Henry Cavill.
Yeah,
Okay.
what was the director's name?
Oh, Zack Snyder.
Yeah, Zack Snyder. I'd like the first one.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it was cool.
yeah,
I didn't care for anything really after that, but I did
yeah.
like the first one.
Well, and that Henry Cavill was good as Superman. So
Yeah, yeah, you believe that guy was Superman.
yeah,
And there was just a touch of irony to his performance. And General Zod was like good and evil. It's like, yeah, you know why this guy was like, he's a good foil for Superman. This guy's really bad. And
yeah.
the people around him are, but they believe in what they believe. And they're not like just evil for the sake of evil. It's like they just have a different idea.
Well, they
Those
did,
kind of guys are always interesting.
and they did a good job of like showing how destructive just a superhuman can be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then that's why like it actually like kind of made sense for the Batman versus Superman movie, where you see like ground level of what was happening in that movie, and just all these people died, and there's like nothing they could do to save themselves.
No, you can't. Guys, a flying bomb. I did like the one colonel that like was always fighting like Zod's right hand lady. Like they could never beat her.
Yeah.
He's just like taking the plane down because they were both going to die in the crash. And he says something about there is such a thing as dying well, and he just slams a plane into the building, and they all get killed. Okay, that's one way to beat him. So that guy was kind of cool.
And then the cast is Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt, and Bill Paxton.
Sadly, I think one of Bill Paxton's last roles.
Yeah, but there's like he did 10 after. I mean, this is the same year he did Nightcrawler, so
Okay.
he was doing stuff. I think he died in 2017. So,
Somebody said this was the last one he had that mustache in.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he did Nightcrawler, Pixies, which was an animated, Term Life, which he was a side character in, Mean Dreams, which I think was another animated film, and then The Circle is where he was a side character. So
Yeah, I think his last thing he did the Training Day TV show, and I think when he died, pretty much the show died with him, because I heard that show was actually pretty decent,
okay,
but I never saw it.
he played someone funny in Agents of Shield too. I remember.
I haven't watched that. Is that worth it?
It's good and bad.
Isn't Patton Oswalt in that?
I think so.
Okay.
It's been a while. It's been like 5 or 8 years since I've seen it. So
Yeah. I just never. I don't know. I like to watch all that MCU stuff, just to kind of as upkeep. Yeah, but I never watched that show. So
put it this way: when I watched it, I think it was on Netflix.
yeah.
It's been a while since it was.
Yeah, it probably had like 9 seasons, and it's been off the air for like 6 years, for all I know. So I know the Agent Carter series had 1 season. It was supposed to be really good, or at least I remember Patton Oswalt was talking it up. So who knows?
Yeah.
Usually he has great recommendations, but he also like, a lot of things happen in his life that kind of force him to be like way more positive than he usually is. So. So yeah, what's your history with Edge? Oh yeah, I already asked you. You just said you went and saw it with your son, had a good time. I think we've actually talked about this movie before, but
Oh yeah. It's
we're not in the middle of a series, and I just picked 2 random movies and said, Nathan, what do you want to watch? Long Kiss Goodnight or Edge of Tomorrow? And he's like, oh, Edge of Tomorrow. So, because it's kind of a recent movie that's only 9 years old. So I know 11 years old. Never mind. So and it doesn't feel like it's an over a decade old movie. So, and I do remember it feeling like it was overlooked. Like it's one of those movies where like it makes hundreds of millions of dollars, but the way you hear a studio exec talk about it, like it was a waste of time and money, and it's like, what? So
yeah, it seemed to be there was a lot of studio notes on this that were thankfully rejected. Except they wanted to call it just Live, Die, Repeat.
Okay, is that where that comes from? Okay.
That was supposed to be the title of the movie.
I keep hearing people talk about this, and maybe this is on the Action Boys podcast, where they may have, that is probably them incorrectly talking about how they renamed this movie like after its release to Live Die Repeat, or maybe just the DVD cover only said Live Die Repeat and not Edge of Tomorrow. But as far as I know, this hasn't had a name change to it. It's always been Edge of
No.
Tomorrow. So
Yeah, now if they made a sequel, they would call this Live Die Repeat, and it would be in smaller letters, Edge of Tomorrow. That's how that, because that's what the director wanted to call it.
Okay.
And on the DVD box, the Live Die Repeat is in much larger letters.
Okay.
And it also covers the two main characters. Poster, the movie release poster, it was Edge of Tomorrow, and then it was like a tagline, Live Die Repeat. There were weird studio notes on this movie, like, could we take out the time travel element? That seems and it's like, okay, then how would we? But I don't know. Sometimes you hear that, and it's like nobody with their brain in their head actually said that. Or if they did say it, they were blasted out of their mind on code. Nobody was paying attention to them. So,
or somebody needed attention, so they have to like create a problem for everybody to solve, so the time is wasted and people feel like they're involved. So
yes. I've heard studio executives are terrible for like, I'd like to put my 2 cents in because I make $100 million a year and nobody knows why.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah,
I'm successful. Obviously, all my ideas are correct.
Yeah. Which is not an attitude I would, if I was lucky enough to be a movie producer, which I don't have the temperament or mentality for it, but it's like, hey, we're going to make you $1 billion a year. Cool. Have at it. Go ahead. It's like, what I'm not going to do is authorize like a $500 million space porno movie, because I got a feeling we're not going to make our money back up. But anything else, go for it.
Yeah, like I don't know. It feels weird, but like, yeah, it feels like anytime there's like a big movie that's a failure, it's because it's like generic.
Yeah.
And like the studio took it over. It's like, well, this is what audiences like it, and then they try to make it to fit an audience scorecard, and then nobody goes and see it, and then it seems like executives never learn that that's the problem. It's like, no, we have our data, we know what's right.
This is why this is like the hope of AI. Everyone's looking for that thing. It's like, this can predict the future and we can solve all these problems.
Yeah.
And you go back to, like Henry Ford there's 2 things he's famous for. The customer can have it in any color he wants as long as it's black. That was one saying, because he only made them in black because it was the cheapest paint to buy and spray and make look nice at that time for that price point.
Yeah.
And the other thing was, never waste a dime trying to figure out what the public's going to do next year, because you will never figure it out. Good luck. You're going to keep doing what you're doing until it doesn't work, then change. Don't try to like predict.
Hire people you know are creative and smarter than you, and then give them access to the tools to make something awesome.
And you don't know if it's going to work. I mean, there's some things that are a home run.
Yeah.
But like everything else, because we were talking about like movies that made a lot of money. I remember reading in the newspaper when they said that the guy that James Cameron, it's like he's fried himself with Titanic. That movie will never make its money back. They have run into so many cost overruns. They called it like the sinking of his career. All kinds of stuff like that came out about Titanic just based on the production. And then the movie came out and like, you didn't hear that anymore.
No.
And a lot of people there was a lot of bad reviews on it initially too. It's like, no one will like this. This doesn't connect with anyone. It's sappy. It's unbelievable. It's not historically accurate. Yeah, you quit hearing about that after about a month.
Yeah, it made $1 billion like 30 years ago.
It was the biggest thing that happened in movies in a long, long time. But it's like, if you believe the press, it's like it's the ship of failure. It's going to sink. Like, you will never know who James Cameron is again. You'll never hear him again. It's like,
James Cameron had that pull to be like, I'm right, you're wrong. And he had the pull and conviction to do that.
Well, he just doesn't care what people says. You tell him he's wrong, he'll just be like, what? What do those words mean? Are you stupid or something? Would you get out of my office? It's like, you don't tell me that.
Yeah, but if you're like one of these like young horror directors who like, now you're directing a $100 million movie, you can't tell.
Yeah,
you can't like, they hired you so you can't tell them to fuck themselves.
Yeah, you're paid help until you're taking points off the back and put your own. It's like, yeah, until that's happening, or you're like, I'm inventing the cameras and submersibles to shoot this.
Yeah.
It's, well, we can't argue with that. And I remember, what was the other? The Avatar. It's like, this is it for James Cameron. He's the man who entertained us for years. The lights have gone out. It's like, then that made like $1 billion.
Yeah.
Clearly,
And
this guy knows what he's doing.
Well, it's weird because that's I'm not sure. Thinking about Nathan, but do you think Avatar is James Cameron's worst movie?
No,
Okay.
I don't think it's his worst. It's the one.
I'm not saying it's his. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm just wondering, like, it's one of his low. If you compare it to all his movies, it'd probably be one of the lower
I
ones.
watched it once and I'm done.
Yeah,
Like, I've seen it once, like 15 years ago. I'm like, all right, I got what I needed out of that, and it was a cool movie.
Yeah,
it wasn't Aliens. It wasn't.
No.
I can't think of what his worst movie would be.
Because usually people go to Abyss, but I like Abyss.
Yeah, I like Abyss for its. Well, it's what he loved. It's like, yeah, let's get
and
under
True
the ocean.
Lies is not really like, I don't know. It's more throwawayable than his other movies.
Yeah, well, that was driven by a lot of like, hey, let's get Arnold Schwarzenegger together with James Cameron and see what happens.
It's a fun movie. So.
Let's watch these egos cancel each other out. What's going on there? But yeah, it's cool, but it's kind of its time.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's like Aliens is timeless. The Abyss is just cool. There's a lot of good factors in there.
Terminator 2, amazing.
Yeah,
Terminator as well. Yeah, and I think this movie, and maybe it's hopscotching, but like, because what Aliens did was took a lot of like Vietnam era aesthetics and attached it to the future, and I feel like this movie is basically taking Aliens aesthetics and doing that as well, or maybe they're also just taking from sort of Vietnam era aesthetics and slapping them on here. So
yeah, that could be.
So
I'm getting a running update on our bomb tally.
Okay.
Should turn off my news feed. I think it broke through because we're like actively dropping bombs on people. So it's like, this might be important. We don't do this but once every year.
Well, there's nothing we can do in response. So.
Yeah, I already voted, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, I guess we'll get into it. We got Act 1.
Yeah, we should probably talk about the movie.
Well, I was saying that Aliens, I feel like this movie either just borrows from the Vietnam era war aesthetic, or this is just taking straight from Aliens.
Oh, this movie borrows from World War II.
Okay.
Yeah, because the battles they talk about in here were in World War
II. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Operation Overlord was the code name for the invasion of the home islands of Japan, which we were like, yeah, we're going to lose 1 million people in a month. And it's like, hey, what about these weird bombs in the desert? It's like, can we try these? But yeah, that was going to be Operation Downfall was going to be the original. It would have been the worst thing in history, too. It would have, so many Japanese people would have been killed. I'm so glad that didn't happen for both sides. But yeah, that was because the people that came up with the idea is like, we don't know what this is going to be the downfall of, Imperial Japan or U.S. support for the World War II, because people at home were not happy about all the deaths. And we were going to be taking on Japan virtually by ourselves initially. And then the Russians would have swept in from the north, and then we would have had North and South Japan. Like, we didn't want that, so, or East and West Japan, or whatever it would be.
Yeah.
So we're like, let's use the portable suns, portable stars, or whatever they call it.
So we got Act 1. We got excited of like the digital transformer noises and pictures choppy with interference. We get news footage talking about like a meteor hitting in Europe and war breaking out, which is very. Oh, there is.
Tiberian sun.
No, well, that works too.
I think a lot of people that wrote some of this sci-fi, a lot of things go back to Command and Conquer Tiberian Sun because they're still making things that look and feel like that.
Um, there was a game. It was like one of the first PS3 games, Resistance,
Oh, Fall of Man, yeah.
which was like, yeah, it had a similar kind of thing, and then it had really cool aesthetics where it's like they just like slapped on sci-fi stuff to World War II equipment. So,
Yeah.
uh, and then they had sort of a mysterious, forest, that comes up, and then
Yeah, it shows like a wave. It moves across Europe and Russia.
yeah,
And it's like, well, America has to go to Europe and fight because, this wave will be at our door pretty soon.
yeah. Which is a really cool idea. The game was okay, and then the second game was terrible, and then the third game was okay, but that was back
It got
when.
progressively darker as it went on.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it was by a game studio that put out a game once a year
Yeah.
at a time when that was like impossible, and
Yeah.
this is by a game studio that was commonly considered one of the best places to work in the world. When almost no game studio has ever considered that, because it's always you're working 100-hour weeks until the
Yeah.
game's done. So
Grind that out. Sleep in this pod and drink some of this espresso or other drugs we will give you.
and then by the end of it, like you're burnt out, and then you might not have a job anymore. It's like, why did I do that?
Yeah, about to have a nervous breakdown,
Uh,
and it's like I may or may not have a job. Like, what am I working
They
for?
do pay you lots of money, so that's always good. So
Yeah, that's nice. But you have to cost a lot of money to live in the places where you work at those places too.
yeah. It's usually in California. So I'm not sure if they're that way anymore. But they now make the Spider-Man games, and they now make a game like every 4 years, like every other studio. So, let me see. Major William Cage, played by Tom Cruise, he shows up as like a propaganda for like this new fighting war rig or whatever. I think what they call it, a jacket.
Yes.
Okay, I just keep calling it a rig in my notes. So I don't know.
It's a mech suit, an exoskeleton.
Yeah, it's not fully. It doesn't like. Yeah, it kind of claps on your leg and arms, and then like it has like weapons on it, but it doesn't fully cover you. It's not like fully armoring you. So it's more of an exoskeleton thing. So
Yeah, they kind of had to make them that way because number one, you wanted to see the actors, and number two, they actually made suits that the people fought in.
oh, okay,
Moved in, and you had to move with. It was all wire assist
yeah,
because real heavy duty ones were actually weighed 80 pounds. Then they had lighter ones that they could move around in, but that was all done with wires, and it was done with wires to give them that bouncy, like assisted look.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
otherwise, it looked like a guy struggling in a heavy suit. Because guess what? They weren't powered. They
Yeah.
were just designed to look cool. I remember when they brought those mech suits into work. It was around this time. It was for the guys. What it would do is it would hold your arms up,
Yeah,
rest your arms when you're working on the overheads, and it was. But they had to change the power cells out like every hour, and the power cells got really. The guys were like, "Man, I'm burning up in here. This power cell's hot." But it was cool because you could rest your arms and you could walk around like because it just wasn't your upper body. Your legs were your legs, and it only was made out of titanium, so I think it only weighed like 60 pounds. But the way it was distributed, it was like a backpack. I saw the guys working in them. They said, just keep your arms up and you'll be fine.
I saw they had something like that in Japan, but it was for like hospital workers to like lift patients.
Yes.
Because when you have a 70-year-old nurse that leaves to lift a 200-pound man, you're going to need an exoskeleton suit. So.
They had Stacy had to work with. They use Hoyer lifts here.
Okay.
But those are, I forget what they cost. I know because they have to meet all kinds of liability stuff, and you have to be able to get them over a bed, and they have to be able to lift. In the case of America, people 300 pounds and above. So I know that they were really expensive, and they never bought enough of them because it's like you got to transfer beds, and it's like who's got the Hoyer, and they're running around looking for them. But they're pretty comprehensive now, but I think they cost like $50,000. They're basically lawsuit proof.
Yeah.
And people will still not do it right. And old people, guess what? Their bones break really easy. And there's so many things to consider. It's like we should just be able to put people's personalities into a digital construct, but we're not doing that. So
What was that? San Junipero.
yeah, yeah. Leave your body behind and you exist in a construct.
um, so they make it seem like they don't have to do training anymore because the suit exists.
Yes. Well, that's what they're saying because they won at the Battle of Verdun, which is in France, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, well, Sergeant
Rita
Sergeant
Vertansky.
Ratsky or whatever, she was just introduced to this, and she took a blade off of a helicopter and fought, the Omega Man sword style. So yeah, these things are awesome. People become complete badasses with these suits, not realizing until later in the movie. It's like, no, she lived this life for like years trying to
Yeah.
get it all right, because that's how our enemies are doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, we get mention of the Rita Vertaski, played by Emily Blunt,
Okay.
the Angel of Verdun, which is just like
They also call her the Full Metal Bitch in
yeah,
some places, like it's spray painted.
yeah. Which I don't know if that's what is Full Metal? Because there's a series called Full Metal Alchemist. There is like other things called Full Metal, and I don't know what that's about. So
Well, Full Metal Jacket is a
Yeah.
round that's solid copper casing, so it's not
Okay.
hollow pointed. It's not partially
yeah,
covered.
so yeah, it's probably just Full Metal Jacket that I'm thinking.
Yeah,
of,
I'm
so.
guessing that's because Full Metal Alchemist is like alchemy is changing metals into like lead into gold type stuff. So Full Metal Alchemy is just a play on that word.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
And-
that was also an anime, so they probably didn't even know what words they were making. It's like, that sounds cool enough. Let's move on.
yeah. Well, I think it was. I've watched a few episodes of that.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
okay.
magic involved in it.
Oh, yeah, it's all about magic.
It's like
so.
chemistry. If it was like if you were a wizard too, which is what alchemy actually
Yeah,
was.
but yeah, that cost thing, because like the main character has like a metal arm because he used magic and it cost his arm.
Mhm.
And then his brother is dead, but his soul lives in a suit of armor. So
Gets weird out there.
yeah. And then they like completely rebooted the series, and I think it's all on Netflix. And I hear it was like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. If I hear it's good, so
Okay.
I think it's all on Netflix. But yeah, they talk about it's a rare win in the war with the aliens, which I think is actually their only win. So,
Yeah.
we learned that the aliens are called mimics, which I'm not sure.
That
What?
comes from the book, but it's not
Oh.
explained in the movie
Okay.
because it sounds dangerous.
Yeah.
Because the aliens are the weirdest aliens you've ever seen put on film. They're not like little green men. They're not like even like just the slaughter beast from the Alien series. They're like something weird.
Yeah.
Like, what if a cell?
They're
What
like
if a white
spinning
blood
tendrils with energy?
cell- yeah, what if a white blood cell had a rage roaring face or something
Yeah.
stab you? Which is kind of cool when you find out what's going on. But,
Yeah.
the reason they're called mimics in the book is because when the aliens crash landed in their asteroid in the book, they mimicked the first thing they saw, which was a starfish.
Okay.
So you're essentially being attacked by giant starfish, which like that idea, but it was kind of hard to pull it off.
Yeah.
And also, this was actually hard for them to pull off. They talked with the CG guys about they had to come up with special programming protocols to make the mimics look cool.
Yeah.
And also the mimics, you notice whenever they fight, it's either on a beach or someplace where a lot of grass and dirt is being stirred up around them. They're like a blender if it was walking around
Yeah.
land.
Yeah, because you don't really see them move a lot like up top. You always see like they're underneath something, and you always see like their energy weapons being fired, but you never see from where. They're just like just being fired about. So
Yeah, which like when you find out what's going on in the movie, it's like, oh yeah, what if a white blood cell was just attacking you? Because these things just seem like dumb animals. Like they're not
Yeah.
using strategy; they're just massacring people, and it's not exactly clear how they would win because they're fast, but they seem outnumbered. But they seem to always move, and it's like, yeah, you can't like flank them or whatever because they're there. But then later you're like, well, of course they're in
Yeah,
cheap.
if you get
So,
a million tries at it, you'll win
yeah,
eventually. So
because it seems like a scary, dangerous enemy, but it also seems like a really weird enemy. It's like, what's their end game here?
yeah, it's hard to pick up on like, are they intelligence, or do they just think differently? Like, cause there's a lot like, cause there's a lot more like, uh, it seems like they talk about like the enemy tricked us, like, this is their plan, and that's for us to like go all in on this. So they could like, do they actually think that way? Like,
It doesn't
and
seem like at the end of the movie, it seems like it's a single intelligence.
yeah,
Like it's not like like human beings work together in a distributed network of like, well, we have goals, but we're going to achieve them in different ways unique to us. With these things, it's like, no, it's just a brain that controls everything on the field.
yeah.
It's directing everything, and everything is just like a mindless murder bot that like it doesn't have any
But yeah,
individual.
when it dies, everything else dies too, because it's all basically one organism essentially.
Yeah, which
So
is good. That's a huge weakness.
yeah,
You
which
know,
yeah, I
not
mean, actually, your blood cell analogy works then, because if you die, your blood cells die too. So
yeah, because if the brain dies, my body dies. I don't tell my white blood cells what to do. They just do it. Hopefully, if I'm lucky. Yeah, that's
well, it's good when they die, they get to reset the time line. So
yes. When they're fighting off these strange diseases now that seem to afflict us constantly, they're just resetting every time. That attack didn't work. Try a different attack. Grow new cells.
um,
That's cancer. It's a balance. It's a balance.
then we cut to Cage just sleeping in a helicopter that lands in London. Cage meets with General Brigham, played by Brendan Gleeson, who we last saw in Taylor of Panama.
Yes.
And just before that, maybe ironically, in the movie The General, where he's not playing a general, and here he is actually playing a general. So.
Yes. An Irish general is in charge of the combined Allied forces Europe.
Yeah.
Like that's an interesting outcome.
Which
It was kind of cool to see though.
oh, how many stars did he have on his chest? Did he just have 4? Or did he have 5?
I'm not sure.
Because I know there's like a special rank, like when you have like combined forces together.
Oh
like,
yeah, Supreme Allied Commander I
Yes.
think is 5.
Yes.
Because I know I think who was the last guy that had that? I know Eisenhower had it.
Yeah. But it only exists if you're like combining forces in like a world war kind of thing scenario. Because otherwise 5-star generals don't exist. But
No. Okay. Supreme Allied Powers Europe shape at Mons Belden is headed by who they call SACEUR, which is Supreme Allied Commander Europe, a U.S. 4-star general heading the European U.S. Command. And it rotates between the services. But it's always an American, but it's only 4 stars. You only get the 5th star if it's a war.
Okay. All right. Huh.
That's what makes it different.
Huh.
That's what it says here, at least.
Okay.
And then Warsaw Pact had something different. But yeah, I think Eisenhower and Patton. I think Patton was Supreme Allied Commander Pacific or something. But he was a Navy. I think he was a Navy guy. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how it worked. But I know the British wanted to put their general in. We're like, no, no. You kidding? Where's all your tanks?
So the general here wants to send Cage in with the first wave to sell the war, and then Cage just like holds back and says like, "Hey man, I was just an ROTC," and then he lost his advertising company when the war started. So it's like, which I don't know how that works, but whatever. I guess all efforts were going toward the alien war.
Yeah, I was gonna say this was probably like we're just drafting anyone into. Because I don't know if you remember that scene in Oppenheimer. Remember they made Oppenheimer wear an officer's uniform?
Yeah.
Because technically all those people were in the army.
Yeah.
Like they all laughed at it because like I have a PhD. I'm not in the army. It's like, oh, but if you tell anyone, we can still march you out there and shoot you. So you want, whether you like it or not. So yeah, this was probably an all hands on deck thing.
And so yeah, he says like, well, I got some names I can come up with, but like, I'm not like a frontline guy and stuff like that. So he just weasels his way out of it. But he makes it say like, this isn't his normal thing. Like he was just kind of put in this position, like sort of ceremonially. So
Yeah, he's made to be out to be a really hateful, like craven guy.
um, well, I'm talking about like Cage just being put in as this position. Like it
Yeah,
didn't really.
yeah. But he's actually like, it's like, can I bribe you or
Yeah,
something?
yeah.
He's like, that's crazy.
He basically tries to. Oh yeah, the journal says it's an offer. It's not an offer. It's an order. And then Cage tries to threaten the general. It's like, hey, I can make this be bad press for you. And then the general has him arrested and he gets tased. And the next thing he wakes up on a pile of bags in a military staging area. Which this will be the point where he keeps waking up. So, well, that must have been a hell of a taser to knock you out. Usually those things don't knock you out.
It's a future taser.
So he's been stripped of rank and like conscripted to the recruits, so he doesn't have rank anymore. But they're gonna say this guy was like, what do they call that? Deserting his post and put him on the front line with a live weapon. So, but whatever. So, he's here against his will, and that's the whole point of it. So then, like later on in the movie, he can be like, no, I'm the only one who can do this. So, then we have Master Sergeant Farrell, played by Bill Paxton, shows up and takes him into processing, and he forces him into the front line. And then we have where we meet like J Squad, which is just I'm not sure if this is indicative of everybody or if this is just the squad of fuck ups. But it's just like seemingly random people thrown together, in this military. Because even though like Cage has like a Marine uniform on, there's no like really like. There's not really military distinctions. Like it's just referred to as the military, and then like the clothing is like all over the place. But it's also a bunch of different countries gathered together too. So
yeah, and they've also taken, like they said, they've taken millions of casualties at this point.
Yeah.
So those organizations are probably just stretched. There's probably is no delineation between. It's like, yeah, this is just combined.
Combined allied forces.
Yeah, there's no, and we're just grabbing people off the street. It's like, well, it doesn't matter if you're a big fat ass. We just put you in a mech suit because you're only survive 12 seconds. Because they're losing people. Their attrition rates are unrecoverable. They do mention that at some point. It's like we're going to be using senior citizens to do this in about a year because they're just running out of everyone.
But yeah, this is their biggest punch they have. They're basically going to send everything they have to the beaches of France.
Yeah.
Is this just literally Normandy, or is this just a different? Okay.
This is just D-Day with like future tech.
Okay.
Now in the book, interestingly, from the few things I read, the people in the mech suits are primarily passive. They're not like active operators. Like the mech has an intelligence to it, but it needs a human operator.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily like the mech suits are pretty efficient at killing.
You give orders and you're just kind of along for the ride.
Yeah, that's pretty much like go this direction, do this. But when it comes to actual fighting, like the intelligence of the suit, it does it. But I guess the guns jam a lot or whatever, and people have to reset that.
Yeah.
So in that case, it's like you're more like, what was that one book? What they called cry pilots. Put inside a space combat vehicle, but it was all run by AI, but the law says a human had to be inside it.
Okay.
So all the AI was trying to do was not liquefy you with emergency maneuvers, but they said, most cry pilots made it 3 missions before either they got killed or they completely psychologically melted down because you were just in this water tank and just being thrown around. Like you didn't have any idea what was going on. It was actually what they made prisoners do it.
Huh.
So it's like, oh, that kind of reminds me of a cry pilot scenario where it's like, well, the rule says machine intelligence is there has to be a human operator.
I remember
you could abort the combat by pressing a button, but they made it almost impossible for you to get to the button by the time combat started because these things were moving around at multiple Gs, and it was nuts.
Did you ever go, I think I made you read the first book, but did you ever go through the whole Fear the Sky trilogy?
No, I read the first one. Yeah.
Okay, the first one's pretty good. The next two are
Yeah, I know you
stupid.
said read the first one because it's cool.
I mean, like the next two are
I
kind of
body
amazingly
prop.
stupid. Like there's like
Yeah.
here's a good idea and three bad ideas all around. Like, but they get to a point where it's like, oh, it's a war effort. Now that we can basically say, oh, aliens are attacking, they can like move to a war effort, and like they can build these spaceships, but like a human cannot withstand the forces of the spaceship. So they can basically like take people's brains out and put it in a special disc that will keep the brain alive at these like G forces. But you're taking a brain out of a person, and then the extra weird thing to it is that for controls to work, it has to be children because they're the
Oh,
only one that can adapt to this new kind of situation, and adults just go crazy, and now they're controlling a deadly spaceship. So so they're just taking all these children's brains out, promising they'll put them back in, and sending them off to war. So, and of course, the fun, plucky people from the first book are all sent to jail because they do like heinous things, commit crimes against humanity to fight a war against aliens. So, um, so that kind of reminded me of that.
yeah.
So, let's see. Yeah, so we meet J squads. So they're supposed to be the bunch of the ragtag group of people. Where this is like, I don't know. It's like it's weird later on what they say they are, but it seemed like these were the people that were like conscripted from prison or something like that.
Yeah. It seemed like it was a rough crew.
But but then some of the backstories and all the people seems like, well, these don't seem that bad. Why is he? But whatever. We also had the fun like he sees them playing the master sergeant sees them playing poker, and then like this is against his idea of fate and how like you can control your own fate with basically with like training and stuff like that, and he makes them eat the cards. I forget the line. It's repeated throughout, but it's a fun little line about like basically like fate is what we make it or whatever, something like that. So
Yeah, it was very reminiscent of a Terminator thing.
yes.
And also, what is this? A lot of the writing in this from the original story is based on like very Buddhist ideas about circles and life repeating itself and all that. It's like you must become a better person in each rotation through the wheel.
Okay.
And so yeah, you can see where like, oh yeah, all this stuff is this is the Asian version of the hero's journey. It's not, or just any version of it's like, yeah, he starts out a flawed man, but he has this like one weird skill, ability, etc., that like he becomes a good person by the end, or at least a person who recognizes that like there's something bigger than himself
Yeah.
that he must be able to even be willing to die for. So yeah,
Uh,
that's very present in this.
but yeah, the Bill Paxton Carol character has a lot of fun lines throughout this. He's a southern character who has kind of interesting philosophies and stuff like that, and also is comically blunt at other times. So, we cut to morning, which this is a good thing here because like we're hiding all this time that then gets used later on in the movie to make it sort of make sense.
Yeah,
Where it's like, because like I mean, because basically all this what happens next, this cycle happens in over 5 minutes, but you have to realize like, oh, he's got like 18 hours to himself to which he can use before this happens. But here they make it sound like it's they shorten it up to make it seem more like perilous. Like he doesn't have enough time, and then over time they expand it out because like this is happening over 2 days, but really it's over like 12 hours. So. Or something like that, or more like 18 hours, or whatever. We see Rita gets suited up. She seems like angry. Like some guy says something there, and he just pushes her out of the way. They're all loaded in the drop ships with just like these VTOLs with like 4 propellers on it. This is something that looks very like Command and Conquered, like future tech kind of going on here. So. the sky is full of VTOLs, and they're about to drop the infantry on the beach, which they just like. As soon as these rigs they're in will absorb some of the, the fall damage, and so they're just like suspended from lines and like drop from like 100 feet in the air or whatever. So, so they're not parachuting down. Although it seems weird, also seems weird that like, okay, you just put them in a plane, and drop them out, but I guess not. So, why don't you just land the VTOL?
Or
yeah, it makes it more cinematic. That's true. Well, also like they correctly use, like you say, like you're gonna pair this with World War II stuff, and so what's always a World War II scenario is like the paratrooping and like taking flak and stuff like that, and all the dilemma that happens around that, and so you're just gonna do that, but you're just gonna do it with a sci-fi technology, but you're gonna do it in that way. So, but there seems to be different types of suits, but that doesn't really matter.
it's kind of weird.
It's like the one bigger guy seems to have like a more like robust suit that you presume is like more heavily armed, but we don't see him ever really used to see what it does differently, so it doesn't really matter. So, some people are wearing helmets, some people aren't. So, but that's just gonna give everyone a character. You don't want this to ever have
delineate them.
Yeah, which is actually
troopers.
Yeah,
it's all the same.
Which is a bit more impressive for the CGI work. So, the VTOLs start taking fire. The ship gets hit, and like people start dying. People are ramming into things. People just turn to flames. Cage is trying to turn out how to turn his safety off, which is like, it's like a fun little bit that nobody tells him how to do it. And also is like, are they intentionally doing that?
To him.
Yeah. Yeah, which is maybe a nod to the original. Who knows?
Yeah.
Okay. And so they drop from the VTOL, but they're like still suspended by a wire. So as the VTOL's like spinning around in circles, they're all being spun around in circles like they're on like a merry-go-round or something like that, like a sideways merry-go-round. Or no, what are those things? They do have those things where it's like bucket seats held by wire, and as it spins you outward.
Yes, yeah, I've seen those tilt-a-whirl.
Yeah, tilt-a-whirl. Yeah. So yeah, it's basically a tilt-a-whirl here, and then eventually, I'm not sure if the cable releases itself or if you're supposed to like knock the cable off, or it just eventually it releases you. It is hilarious that no matter when he gets released or how he gets released, he always lands in the same spot every time.
Yeah.
So.
Which
I don't know if it's technically a continuity mistake or if it's fate. What's going on here? So.
I think they were probably saving a little money.
Yeah. I don't see it as a continuity mistake. I just think that's like a funny choice. Because if he lands in the same spot every time, then you get to see all the things that he constantly happens. You get to see the big guy get the dropship fall on him, and eventually it's like I didn't realize he had like a teddy bear taped to his chest. He also fights in this underwear, or it's more like a jock strap, right? Because it's like
something like that. He says,
yeah. So he lands on the ground. Cage moves forward as people are getting taken out by enemy fire, which again, I don't know. This is just energy weapons or something.
Yeah, lasers. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because are they shooting them from their mouths, or because you never really see like the whatever they're firing emanate from anywhere, right?
No.
Okay, it's
they
not
seem
important.
To be
but
energy. I guess it's probably coming from the tips of their tendrils.
Right.
Maybe?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, because they kind of just glow with energy, and then they have like kind of these vibrating tendrils, and that's like kind of what their body's made of. And it's more obvious with the alphas, but like their insides just seem like a furnace that's just constantly ablaze. So, then we see Rita's ship crashes on shore, and her team get out, and they start fighting. There's like the one guy that has like a full mask on with a skull on it, and then like there's nothing special about him. He
Yeah.
just disappears from the movie. So I thought for a moment I was like, is this Ghost from the Call of Duty series? Because you would have felt like she has a special team or something like that. But then as we get further in the movie, it's like there's like there's them two and one other guy that they can talk to.
Yeah.
The doctor. Was it Dr. Carter? Yeah, something like that. So because as we find out, like with this ability, you can't tell. There's only so many people you can tell about it, or you'll just end up in the psych ward and, as she says, dissected. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost a danger to explain this to people because if anyone believes you, it's like, well, we need this ability too. And
yeah.
it's like, that's when they're going to start drilling into your skull.
We see the aliens for the first time. They're like quick moving tendril masses, and again, they have like some sort of we see the regular kind of drones or just have like red fire inside of them, and then the alphas have like a kind of a blue fire inside of them. Cage watches Rita get killed. He starts walking back to the beach, but then Farrell gathers him up and points him back towards the enemies. People are talking about how like they're not like that the enemy's not even supposed to know they're coming, and then like obviously they've planned to wait for them. So, but like I don't know, the mimics seem to be everywhere at all times. But that's just kind of the danger of the movie is like you don't know where the enemy is.
Yeah.
Then a mimic pops up out of the ground, starts killing the squad because they're kind of like gathered around inside this like bunker that has like hills, sand hills around all sides of it, and so it starts coming up in the middle of it. I don't know, Nathan, were you getting were you thinking about screamers every time these aliens were popping up out of the sand?
Especially when the ones wouldn't like they'd be in like a pit shooting out of it, and one of these things would just come up out of the ground behind them. which that immediately made me think, even when I was watching the movie, it's like these guys either have a great strategy or they can read minds or something, because how would they know to be there?
Yeah.
Because I thought it was going to be like some kind of mind reading thing or something.
Oh, okay.
But turns out it wasn't.
So yeah, the squad kills the squad. Cage is able to basically accidentally kill this mimic here, and he kind of like falls on his back, and he's like kind of not necessarily moving, and then like a group of mimics gather near him, but like thinking he's dead or something, or just ignoring him. And then one of them's blue, and that's where you see they basically have like kind of balls of energy inside of their mouths. And then one of them, the alpha notices him, and he grabs a claymore from Griff, because Griff like taped a claymore to his chest to blow up the enemies. And then so he grabs the claymore, like detonates it when this alpha jumps on top of him, and then like its blood seems to be like almost lava like and melting his face as it gets inside of him.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like searing blood that gets in his mouth and kills him. And so that's the end of Act 1. Act 2.
That was over quick.
Cage wakes up in the pile of bags from the day before, screaming and grabbing at his face, having remembered, like, I got killed by that alien. And then Farrell shows up, and then we go through this day once more, and we realize, like, okay, he's repeating the day. So this isn't like a vision of the future. This is like he's been sent back in time every time he dies. So, which again, if you watch the trailer, you'd know that. But we repeat all the scenes again, but it's like we have more like close-ups of like Cage being confused about like, hey, I've done this before. This isn't a dream. So then we cut to the VTOL gets hit again. Cage drops at a different time, but lands in the same place. He saves Rita from enemy fire, but then he gets like shot through the chest, which he's really casual about it because he's like seemingly should be dying, and he's like, I can't move. I think I'm dead. And then Rita takes his battery and just moves on, and this where you kind of get like, oh, she doesn't seem like heroic. So there might be something wrong with her. And then a mimic just comes up and kills Cage. And they'll reset. Which that's basically like you cut to like a first-person view. Mimic fills the screen, imply he's dead, which will happen constantly in this movie. So you don't see the mimics like, sawing people into pieces or whatever and things like that. So, because all the tendrils like have like almost like saw like blades on all of them. Like they're every bit of them is dangerous. So
Yeah, and they move in weird ways, and
yeah, because like they have like extremities, but they also like spin and like move quickly, jump around, and so it's like they're just a spinning mass of
well, when they
knives.
were doing the CG for this, they had a real problem because most of your like high tech CG at that time, like you basically build, what did they call it? Because one of the special effects guys was describing, like you have a frame,
Yeah,
it's like a skeleton, and like when you animate movement, it's like, yeah, how is the skeleton protruding and moving the skin around or whatever? Well, that would be a human like, or an animal. Like the mimics, they wanted those things to move in ways that like it was the antithesis of anything human.
yeah,
The thing they wanted to do was give it a face, and even that was weird. But in order to have it move that way convincingly, that's what all the sand and grass was about.
yeah,
Because what they had to do was program like a hack into the computer to where, okay, the movement of this thing all it follows basically the one tendril. We'll assign one tendril as the frame, and then as the body moves, like everything follows that.
yeah,
So basically, like the skeleton of this thing, as programmed into this computer, is one of those tentacles. Now you don't know which one, but the whole thing just kind of moves around it in a radial pattern.
yeah.
So it makes a very strange, like, because they wanted to make something dangerous and anti-human. Because like the predator alien, that's really dangerous, but essentially it's a man. Like it has arms and legs and a head. Like
Yeah,
you'll know where to shoot it.
yeah.
These things, it's like, what the hell? It's like I said, it's just a white blood cell if it because it acted in the real world.
I mean, they have a head, but like when they're moving around, you can't tell it has a head.
Yeah, it seems to be like everything's moving radially around the face,
Yeah,
and it's like, well, they're not eating, they're not like, they don't seem to like. There's no irony in their existence where they poke curiously at something. It's not kill everything, but maybe they've done all the curiosity and they're just going through the motions again and again and again.
yeah, yeah.
We don't know. We don't know anything about like how their hive mind works, or have any insight into it other than it's somewhat
Yeah,
intelligent.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Essentially, if you took out all of the, oh, now I'm forgetting the name for it, exposition, you could not tell how the aliens work throughout this movie.
No,
They have to explain exactly what's going on here.
yeah, they're just blenders that show up and kill everything. Why is that? Well,
They don't have a language.
yeah,
The thing that seems to be the hive mind of it, there's nothing even like intentional about it or has communication other than like false visions, so which
yeah,
implies intentionality, but
yeah, you're expecting to meet something like the Grave Mind from Halo or
yeah.
something. It's like, I have absorbed life for thousands of. No, it doesn't. Just no talking. It's just like I'm basically a praying mantis that just shows up and kills stuff. And takes over planets and harvests the resource. We don't know. Or maybe they're like the inhibitors from the Alistair Reynolds universe, where if a species gets too advanced, they get wiped out. Because if you go faster than light, you kill God or something. You don't know.
Yeah, what was it in the Expanse universe? It was like they're stealing energy from another dimension to go across the span,
Yeah,
the warp space and
they're
time.
creating chaos, and they're basically ripping another universe apart by using the alien technology, which is why the things destroyed the aliens in their technology. It's like, yeah, we're doing the same thing, and they're going to kill us.
They're making an Expanse video game.
That's what I heard. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks cool. I don't know if it'll, because it's not the crew, but they basically have a, hey, what if we gave like pirates the most advanced ship in the world, and then you take it from there. So
The Expanse is it's a big solar system. You can do
yeah,
a lot of
and they have a built-in peace time between the second trilogy and the third trilogy of about like 30 years, where you can do anything in that time period. Like,
oh
yeah. So yeah, we reset again as he gets killed. Cage tries using his previous knowledge to try to explain what's happening. And then we cut to like Cage is on the VTOL with his mouth duct taped. It's comically. So,
Yeah, this movie does a good job of explaining and showing you a fairly what I would consider a difficult concept to get through to an audience and have the movie move along like an action movie. And it does a pretty good job of showing over and over and over again. Because people in their heads would be like, why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that? They do have an answer for everything.
yeah.
They've pretty much thought it out. I mean, it's not all perfect and flawless. And it's like, you're just driven insane by this, which would probably be what would happen.
Yeah.
It's like I die every day for like 4 years. Like that's got to mess your head up. I mean, are you tired? Do you need to
I forget somebody they did the math on like Groundhog's Day and said he was stuck in that loop for like 400 years or something like that, and that's why he knew absolutely every detail of that universe and why he could do everything. So
yeah.
And they even do a good job here where like you basically like they show you different moments of like you figure out like this is the first time he's done this, and then you also the other times you figure out, oh, this is like the 80th time he's done this. So this you don't know which is which until the conclusion of the scene. So it's very fun in how they do that. So there's a very funny moment later on where it's like we're like, what happens now? And he's like, I don't know, I've forgotten this far. So
a lot of video game logic in this too. This is my save point. Never got past it.
We go through multiple days of Cage trying to come up with ways to save people, and he keeps dying and restarting. We have one day where Rita sees him reacting to everything like he knows what it's going to happen, and then she looks like shocked by this. And then he goes like, hey, get away from there, the ship's about to explode. And then she throws down her sword and says, come and find me when you wake up. So she knows what's going on with him, and he's like, what? And the ship blows up and kills them both. So which you're not sure is like, oh, is she also in this loop? But we'll find out almost immediately. So reset. Cage is more endearing this round. We get more time before the next invasion happens, because again we're spending more time before the next day now. I think we're like, this is where Cage like covers up the poker game and stuff like that, so they don't get in trouble for it, and he kind of like tries to endear himself to J Squad for a little bit. They're out running. He insults Farrell to get everyone to like to get into push-up motion, so he can use this as a moment to like sneak under some moving trucks. But this is like the first time he's done this, and he gets killed. He gets ran over by the truck, and then even though he's supposed to like wake up immediately, we pause and have Farrell react. It's like, what the hell is he thinking?
Yes, that was one of the good moments in the movie. Remember, a lot of people laughed. It's like, yeah, that's because of these guys, it's like he just committed suicide.
Yes.
Like, what the hell is going on here?
I mean, I guess he got ran over a truck. I guess he could just die in agony for a moment after. So.
Yeah, if it didn't crush your head, it's like being decapitated. Like you might live for 3 seconds.
But we do get like probably the most comical like scream from Tom Cruise. It's like, we want you to have a comedic gruesome death. Can you do that for us?
Can you do your Tom Cruise Wilhelm scream for us?
Yeah, maybe he
probably did it 500 times.
Yeah.
That's the work ethic he has.
I've worked with Kubrick. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. That's great. Tom's like, no, we're gonna do this again. He's gonna do that thing where he gets the crazy eyes and gets real close to people. No, we're not stopping. Talk.
Tom, I'm the director. And I'm the star. We pick up the scene again, and he succeeds in his escape. We got to Cage finds Rita doing like yoga exercises on this like firing range with a bunch of big spinning arms that's supposed to like simulate the enemy, which it all seems random here and like dangerous. So like, But yeah, Reed. Yeah, I said Reed is played by Emily Blunt. Do we know her from anything before this movie? She's like
Uh,
super British, right?
yeah, I mean, she looks it. She is the wife of John Krasinski.
Yeah.
Because in this movie, by the time they were doing reshoots, she couldn't do any of her stunts.
Oh, she was pregnant.
Tom Cruise was like, "Why aren't you doing your stunts? You know, it works better if we do that." And she's like, "I'm not supposed to tell anyone." And he's like, "What?" She goes, "Oh, I'm pregnant." He's like, "Oh, okay, cool, that's fine." He goes, "I didn't know," because after I don't think John Krasinski knew. I think
Yeah.
Tom Cruise knew before him.
Yeah,
That was the story. I don't know if that's true. But he's so like enthusiastic. It's like, yeah, we can really work on these stunts together. It's like, yeah, I don't want to kill my baby. Toss around.
I never seen the Adjustment Bureau, but she's in that.
I know her. What did I remember?
But yeah, I liked her in Sicario. But
Yes,
that was after this.
remember her from Sicario. She was also in Looper,
Oh, okay.
but I forget. I think she played. Was it his girlfriend? I'm not sure.
And of course, she's in the Quiet Place movies because it's directed by her husband. So.
Yeah, that came like 5 or 6 years after this.
Yeah. Which is, yeah, weirdly because it's kind of another alien invasion movie by meteorites. So.
She was Oppenheimer's real wife.
Right. Yeah. She's good and stuff, but I feel like this is like really the first time I remember her.
Yeah, she was just playing a different kind of. She wasn't playing a vulnerable character in this.
Yeah. She did a lot of dramas. This is an action movie, so
Turns out, sadly, she was a very traumatized person, but everyone's like, "Oh, she's badass." It's
Yeah.
like her mind has been destroyed by dying 1,000 times.
yeah, she's only good at this because she's through repetition, not because she's actually good at it naturally or like worked her way up to it. So,
Or
it's
she
like,
enjoys it.
yeah.
Completely dehumanize herself. Yeah, it's like
Well, there's like this. So there's like this wide shot of her where it looks like she's like suspending herself by one arm, and then they cut in close, and she's just like doing this like yoga pose where she kind of like raises up or whatever. It's like, yeah, it's hot, I don't know. But it does. It's always. But is she always doing that yoga pose, or is she doing the one arm thing I'm talking about, where it looks like she's holding her body up with one arm?
I don't know. I've seen both of them, but I don't know if it's done every time.
Okay. So
She doesn't navigate through the repeat universe the same way at the same time every time.
yeah.
It's something he's doing to make it more efficient every time.
But he always like every time he meets her here, like it's with this pose. So
Yeah.
She's angry with him because he's like interrupting her because she's just like in the middle of a firing range doing yoga poses because she's a badass or whatever, or it's the only place she can be alone. I don't know.
Yeah, no one's coming out there with the random spinning beating machines. It looks like it's like a giant blender that's following a random arc.
He tells her about the beach, and then they get away to talk, and she's like, "Don't tell anyone about this, or you end up in a psych ward or dissected." He talks about killing a bigger blue mimic and getting covered in its blood, and then she stops and says, "What happened to you happened to me," and she says, "I had it and then I lost it." So like every time this repeats, like she doesn't remember anything, but like at the Battle of Verdun, she had this ability.
Yeah.
Which I wonder how she got it.
Same way.
Just Claymore, holding up a Claymore and blowing
Well,
up.
somehow it's whatever it's burning blood got into her system.
Which, yeah, it's hard to like apply intentionality. Like, did the alien want that to happen, or are the false images like a defense mechanism, or is it just random?
Well, here's what I think's going on. Whatever the blue ones are, they call them alphas in this.
Yeah.
Whatever the blue ones are, if you notice, they are always on the battlefield, but they're covered with the red ones.
Yeah.
Like they're like observers. They're not. I mean, they can fight too, but if you notice, they're not like the combatants like the orange ones.
Yeah.
So that whatever this distributed intelligence is, they're there to observe. They can be killed and things can happen.
Well, and they say later on if they're killed, that's what resets.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but that resets through a distributed network of minds that are all basically the same.
Yeah.
But when it gets into humans, like the question they don't answer is like, does the giant Omega know that it's resetting, or has it now lost that ability?
Yeah, that's what it's presuming.
Aware of it, but that's what I think.
It's getting a reset signal. It just doesn't know it's getting from a human, presumably. But yeah. But then they imply that when they start getting visions, that's intentional and they're misdirecting them. But then actually that doesn't seem to necessarily be. That's either incidental or something else.
Yeah, well, it's hard to put any intentionality towards these aliens.
But again, 3 writers on it, maybe even more. Maybe they didn't really lock down that third arc and try to explain everything because that'd be too hard. So.
Well, like I said, that this movie gallops along a pace.
Yeah.
They're trying to explain fairly abstract concepts as to like why, it's like what is happening is abstract concept number one, and then you get into the why it's happening, which becomes like the whole how do inertial dampeners work in Star Trek. Well, they work very well,
Yeah, and that's where they kind of like with the third act they kind of switch into like a love story thing rather than like explaining war tactics, which is probably for a broader audience a better idea. So
yeah.
But this is where we kind of show her bravery because she's like, we need help winning the war. So now she's kind of like reinvigorized. It's like, maybe we can make this work. We got somebody has this ability again. So, well, it's actually kind of like, again, this is like, I'm looking too much into the logic of it, but like, they imply later on that they were let Verdun was they won because the aliens let it happen so that they would put too much into this invasion here.
Yeah.
But what's also implied is that she won Verdun because she went through it enough times she could make it happen.
Right.
And somehow both are true. It's both a trap and it only works because she had the time reset ability. So
yeah. But you'd think the Omega would understand this, recognize the danger of it, and adapt its strategy. But if it's just like a base level intelligence, like a Hornet or something,
yeah,
so doing is adapting to tactics through thousands of repetitious loops. See, if you can adapt like that, you don't have to learn skills.
Yeah,
you don't have to have like evolutionary combat strategy. You just have to know where everyone is, position troops accordingly, and hit go.
Yeah.
That's not like how like the Marines invaded Iraq, where it's like we attack here, then there, then here, then there, because we don't give them a chance to like pin us down. We're always forcing them to move their soldiers around. No, you're not doing anything like that.
Yeah.
You're not even doing Alexander the Great. You're just
and again, like
playbook.
So like to make this work, you have to think of it. This is just a different kind of intelligence. It doesn't work. It doesn't think the same way that you and me do. So it's hard to. It's improper to imply forward thinking to it because that's not how it thinks.
Right.
Because it doesn't
develop problem solving. It just
it doesn't predict anything by thinking of what the possibility is. It just literally lives out every possibility until it succeeds.
And where it got this technology and what the mechanism is,
I mean, like that, is it a technology? Because we always see an organic mass, so who knows? Yeah. This is organic time travel for all we know.
I mean, you want to get really dark and weird with it, is every time he resets, is he just going into another multiverse? There'd be billions of universes where humanity is defeated over and over and over again.
Why not?
Yeah. Is this an Albuquerque like technology where it's like, well, you can't go faster than light or travel through time, but you can go to a slightly different universe. The only thing is different is like you didn't shave that morning or what, like something you wouldn't notice.
Yeah, you went left, so they went left this time, so there's a completely different universe for that moment he went left. So
yeah, you can go.
There is a universe where fate happens, and then there's billions of the other universes. So. So yeah, this is where they meet with Dr. Carter. This is the first time they're going through this. So like Carter tries like, how many fingers I want behind my back? It's like, I don't know. I've never met you before. So. We also have a good throwaway device that just looks like it has a spike on it, and he's like, and she's just, let's try this. He's like, no, it doesn't work. Then we just forget about it till the end of the movie, which is a fun little thing. You know,
Yeah.
the spike MacGuffin kind of thing or whatever. Or no, this would be a, what would you call that? A Chekhov's gun.
Yes.
A Chekhov's weird science device. Stabby science device. So here at Carter, like basically dishes out, this, he just exists to dish out exposition. So he goes through how the alien works, which he has like 3D holographic dioramas of them. So there's drones, there's alphas, and then the Omega, which weirdly they have a picture of it where it's just kind of a, you know, it's almost like the alien from Star Trek 4, the probe alien. That has a little ball that comes out of it. It's almost like that, but it has to be like in water, and it's just kind of have like, it has kind of like these almost like tower tendrils around it that we only see in this picture, but I don't think we ever actually see when we get to it. So I don't know how it exists, how it moves. I don't know if it, you know, is it just exist where the meteor landed, or can they move this thing around? Does it move itself? I have no idea, but you know.
Yeah, because they said the meteor landed in Germany.
Okay, so they have moved it then. So
yeah,
or moves itself. I mean, I guess it's, yeah, again, like this is all one entity. It's not really a bunch of individual things.
Be in water because whatever its brain is probably generates a lot of heat.
Yeah,
that's why it's like a stationary, like it's the worst kind of thing. It's a fixed fortification. Nature, it has to be.
Okay.
And it doesn't really know that fixed fortifications are stupid because it reset itself. It's like,
yeah.
It's me, so yeah.
You don't have to be talented if you can just try again.
Yeah, if you just have the enemy's playbook over and over again, it's like you don't have to have a good football team.
This is where he implies that the enemy let them win it in Verdun, so they go all in this invasion and lose. So yeah, Cage accidentally has control over the Omega, but only in one way. His death activates the reset, so that's the only way he has control over it, is his death. So, yeah, which is, I guess, is a fun. Yeah, they play fun with that mechanism. They have her kill him quite a bit, which is, which they make death very comical in this movie. So that kind of like lessens the sting of it. Which then when they take the powers away, then it like, you know, then the
yeah, it's in the
direness ramps
turn
up.
off the no clip mode. Now what?
So yeah, they also talk about like they prep him like he's about to have visions of the Omega and where it is, and Rita says she's missed the Omega in Verdun, and she lost her power. Then we cut to, we have Rita's training Cage. Like, she lost her powers when she was injured in the field, and she didn't die. She got taken away and had a blood transfusion. And so it's like something, you know, with the, if you get a blood transfusion, you don't have your power anymore. So we set that up as a thing. Like, you can bleed out and die and reset, you'll be fine. But if you live with different blood, then it doesn't work anymore. So, which that means you have time traveling special blood.
Yeah,
it's the blood.
Blood. We don't know what it is.
So yeah, she says, new rule: when you're injured, make sure you die. So, I think this is where he gets knocked around one of the spinning like arm things in the training facility, and he says he can only feel his lips, and then she like shoots him in the head so they can restart again. So, yeah, the Cage is injured, but then we have a montage of death and training, which is, you know, the very fun. It's comical of him just finding different ways to get killed, and him and her shooting him constantly, because that's what we have most of. We have this repeated thing of him pulling a gun on him and shooting him, and him like waking back up, like holding his hands in front of his face, like, don't shoot me.
Yeah, the most recognizable gun in this movie is the Sig Sauer P226.
Oh, okay, all right.
That's the only gun that's everything else is like a sci-fi gun except for people in the background.
Yeah.
Like you don't know what they're. I mean, there were some guys carrying Styres, but those were like
Oh,
in earlier scenes.
okay.
Yeah.
Um, then we have Cage is killed again, and he gets his first vision of the Omega. They meet with Carter again, and he's talking about there's a dam in Germany with the Omega. And then we have montage of Cage trying to get Rita to the Omega, but she keeps dying. So it's like he feels really bad about this. They have her like like they have stuff like, all right, here you duck and go left, and like it gets that specific, and it just never works. Which like there'd be no way you could be that specific and have someone actually remember that, because every time he resets, she doesn't remember, so he has to like convince her every day that this is what's going on. But she's been through.
He starts pushing her out of the way a lot and just
Yeah.
doing things.
Yeah.
But after a while, it's like, no, I have to show you specifically, because it's like, well, this one will pop out of the ground, one will come out of that trailer. I can't do this myself. Point, like, yeah, we can't get any further than this, which means stopped either 100 or 1,000 times. You don't know.
Yeah.
But.
So Ezra gets like very like saddened, and then one day he just escapes before the invasion, and then just hangs out in a bar during the invasion, and he's just like hearing people talking about like World War II and stuff like that, and people being cowards or something like that nowadays. And
yeah, well, there's a bunch of very old people in a bar, and they're like, "Why are you here? You're like obviously under the age of 90. It's like shouldn't you be fighting?" And he's like, "What difference does it make?"
He's like, "Oh, I've fought like lots of times," and they call him a coward because he isn't out there fighting now. And he says, "I'm usually dead by now." And then, they're watching the news. Then like the power goes out, and there's like a rumbling, and then he like runs out and goes to a bridge, and he just sees like is that like the London River or something like that? But it's just
Thames. Yeah.
Thames. Okay, yeah. It's absolutely just full, like wall to wall with aliens, or at least under the surface. That's what it looks like. So,
Again, they never show these things moving on like clear land.
Yeah.
It's always like throwing things up.
And so basically, he just sees like, oh yeah, when we fail, like everybody in London will be killed. And then like one lunges at him like while he's on the bridge and kills him and starts over again. So now he kind of has a renewed sense of anger and like trains harder. This where you see him like he does like it's almost like he's on skates when he's like moving around in the suit now. So he has like he's like his mobility is like different now. So he's like So yeah, next time we go back to the beach. Rita and Cage like get up the hill on the beach. So they've like successfully gotten off the beach now. But now they have to like get a car, and so he's like, Cage knows they're gonna be ambushed from all these different things, and so like now they have to run after two cars. He says like, yeah, you got to go grab this van. I'll go after this one, and then he's like, take the trailer off, or because it'll hold you back, and then so like at some point she takes off her rig and gets in the van, but then like he gets.
He's still in his suit. Yeah, because they're getting in these comically small British cars.
Yeah.
And he's got like this giant mech suit on, which.
But she punches open the door, right, to let him in,
Yeah.
or did she already punch open the door? So
I'm not sure.
I think she punched open first, because like the next time we see her, she doesn't have her suit anymore, but he does.
Like she can step out of it smoothly, like something went wrong and she got into the car. So.
Maybe she just couldn't fit in the driver's seat with that suit on. So, yeah, he hops in, they drive off, but they do have the trailer on the back of it, which then there's randomly two mimics in there, and then like he just comically pops out of the top of this car, like it's just like a can of fish or whatever, and then starts shooting the mimics. Like he like expends seemingly way too much ammo to shoot two of these things dead, because these mimics, if you just hit them in the head, they'll just die with one bullet, which I thought they're using extra special bullets, but then later on the guy just says it's 5.56. It's like, oh, okay, whatever. It's
Yeah,
got
basically the guns they made into the suit are like Scar assault rifles.
yeah.
They just took all the butt stock and everything off of them, and they're just yeah, they're just like regular. They're not like special suits. They're not like the pulse rifle from Aliens. Where it's like, oh, it fires a 10 millimeter explosive caseless
Well,
tip caseless armor piercing round.
there's like these extra arms that come up off the back. That one's like a rocket pod and one's like this heavy cannon thing.
Yeah, they don't identify those.
No. Yeah,
That's movie stuff.
yeah. um.
Yeah, they're in a minivan called a Renault E-Space.
Okay, it's French. Okay.
Yeah, it's a Renault.
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 um. Yeah, they used to have an F1 team, which now it's called Then it was called Alpine, and now it's called. Is it still called Alpine? No, yeah, it's called Alpine. And now I don't know what it's going to be because now the French are going to stop making engines for F1 and they're going to buy Mercedes engines. So
Yeah. Everyone's going to buy Mercedes engines for F1s pretty soon.
yeah. Well, next year is the engine, or it's the new rule change. So everyone's going to have different engines and everyone's going to have new aerodynamics. So it'll be crazy. So
Yeah, it'll be a wild year in F1. Yeah, all the other builders have decided to just buy them from Mercedes. We're not building our own. I think even Honda's getting out of it.
Yeah. No, wait, no. They're building an engine for Aston Martin.
Oh, are they? Okay, I
Or
thought
Aston
they were
Martin.
complete.
And then Ford's going to build the engine for Red Bull,
Okay,
but really it's just going to be a team in Britain. But Ford's going to build it, which I mean, in the '70s, Ford built an engine that won like 30 F1 championships. So.
oh yeah, the Cosworth engines are amazing. I
Yeah.
mean, the Cosworth, where is that, in Coventry? I forget.
Yeah, something like that.
They're cool.
Yeah.
It's a lot smaller than you think it'd be. When you've ever seen the place, it's like this is where they built these amazing motors. It's
Yeah.
like it's a small workshop.
Oh yeah, no, like everything in F1, you think like, oh, this is Mercedes. They must be using the weight of their power and manufacturing and using their facilities to build these like amazing engines. It's just like 5 dudes in a CNC machine in some garage.
The reason those engines cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they're not building like 1,000 of them a day. You know, it's scale.
Nope. But yeah, but the new engines are supposed to be slightly less complicated because they're getting rid of the heat recovery system, which was a boon to make happen. Like that's a nice attempt, but you know you've done it for 10 years. It doesn't really work, so get rid of it.
It was a beautiful. It was like the Excelsior, the great experiment. Go back to the big turbo era to start running paint thinner.
Well, they're just gonna have more. They're just going to use bigger batteries, and that's about it. All they're going to change on it, but it's still like the F1 system. The F1 engines are I don't think there's any car in the world that will recover energy as well as an F1 car will, because an F1 car recovers like 90% of its energy, and like a hybrid car like recovers like 9% of its energy. So.
But an F1 car costs $25 million. And a kart car doesn't recover shit, and it's way faster and way more powerful, but it doesn't have the legacy of Formula One either. Kart is just go fast in a circle, and you go really fast, and it's really dangerous, but it's not. There's more art and finesse to Formula One.
Yeah.
Kart is just like, how fast can we make a buggy go?
I mean, like IndyCar has they have a hybrid engine now, so but nobody likes it. So.
Yeah, they're not gonna, the teams that win all the time are not going to be using that.
Well, no, they all have to use it. So.
Oh, do they?
Yeah,
oh.
Yeah, because
out of that.
No, IndyCar is a spec series, so whatever they all have the same car, technically.
Yeah. NASCAR says that too, but no.
Yeah, well, yeah. NASCAR is supposed to be even more. This is all supposed to, it's literally stock car racing. Like these are all the same car.
They still sell a Mustang that is stock car spec. You can buy it. It's $190,000.
Huh. Okay.
You can't drive it off the lot, but you can buy it, and you can find somewhere to go with it. Now it does. It's not quite the completely fabricated body and all that, where it's just body lines. It's actually a structure, but it has a giant NASCAR engine in it. I've seen them. They're load them up on the trucks. This is so hard they can barely. And I don't know what people do with them, but they buy them, and they're go fast goodies. They catch you driving them on the street. It's like, yeah, you can't put a plate on them, so they're not street legal. So it's a major no. But I'm sure I've heard one screaming by at night out by my house.
But yeah. Anyways, so yeah, the new engine's supposed to be, it's more battery and hybrid stuff, and then it's actually supposed to be cheaper to manufacture than the current engines when you take all that energy heat recovery system out. So, where are we at? But yeah, so yeah, like Cage just shoots up this trail on the back of it, like comically so, where like even like half the van they're in is shot up and like falling apart, and then the trailer just falls off from so many bolt holes as they're going forward. Cage tries to talk personally with Rita, which is like there's kind of a weird like misdirect here because like you don't, like she's so cagey about talking about her personal life that you don't know if this is Cage the salesman trying to like lie his way into like being endearing, or what's the truth. How many times have they done this before? It's like you don't know. So but they're sort of like they're trying to like, in some ways they're trying to intentionally confuse you about that. But eventually he mentions someone named Hendrix, which angers her, and he asks not to mention his name, and then she says basically like she watched him die 300 times trying to save him, which that's like recently what he's been going through too. Like he just can't save her. So
yeah, they're essentially trauma bonding at this point.
Yeah. So yeah, the car's out of fuel. They go walking to like just some like mansion in the middle of France somewhere, and Rita's out of her rig or jacket, and Cage rig dies on the way to the house, and so he just gets out of it. He grabs the gun off of it, which doesn't really have a stock on it, but they explore the house. They randomly find a helicopter in the backyard, which I don't know what these helicopters run on, but he keeps saying we should just take the fuel out of it and put it in the car. But I'm like, that won't work. But whatever. It's maybe it will. Maybe this helicopter uses the same fuel as a Renault.
It's a civilian helicopter.
Yeah,
it runs off diesel like most cars in Europe. Diesel helicopter. I don't know what fuel helicopters use.
I mean, usually, well, I guess not jet fuel. I don't know what they'd use, but I imagine it would
the
be
fuel they put in like passenger planes is essentially like refined kerosene.
Yeah,
I think a diesel engine would run off of that. Maybe, I don't know, but I don't know what's in a helicopter because the helicopters are different.
Yeah, I figured it'd have to have like a higher like octane or something like that.
A helicopter isn't compressing the air. A helicopter is like twisting a shaft.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of power, I would assume.
Yeah.
But I don't
know. Yeah, maybe. It doesn't matter. It's a movie. Things just happen. We never get to see the fallout of it anyway, so.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Rita has like a shoulder wound, but it's nothing too bad. But he just patches it up, and then he's like, here's like, like she's saying stuff like, I can't believe you found coffee, and then he's like making the coffee the way she likes it, which like we're all realize like, well, he's been through this a bunch of times already, which really she should be clued on, but then I guess she suddenly realizes that they've been here before a bunch of times. And this is where Cage says hasn't been able to save her beyond this point. Nothing works out. You always die when you start the helicopter. And then she asks like where the keys are, and he just like has them hidden away, and then so he gives them to her. And he says like, I wish I didn't know you, but I do. So, he also talks about like basically, he can't get her beyond this point, and so like if he goes and kills the Omega, and she dies during that run, then like it'll become permanent and she'll be dead too. So he's trying to get them both through this thing alive. So that's
Yeah.
sort of where this kind of tries to become a love story at this point. um, which they don't really follow through on necessarily, but it's like a nice gesture, I guess. So
Yeah. Well, it'd be weird if they didn't suggest that he does care for her. In
yeah,
some way.
yeah. um, But yeah, he gives the keys to Rita. Rita just takes off on a chopper. A mimic comes out and wrestles the helicopter into the barn almost comically. So this is a very weird scene. uh, he like grabs an axe and he kills the mimic with an axe. And then Cage watches Rita die again, and she says her middle name is Rose because that was another thing. He guessed that her middle name was Peyton or something like that, and she says that's not my middle name. So that was him being a salesman again, where he just says lies and has them be corrected by the person. So, an old internet tactic. If you want to know the question to something, just say a lie, and then people will correct you.
Oh yeah.
So,
Thank you.
they hold hands as the mimics come to kill him again. So I have that being the end of Act 2. We have Act 3. Cage starts over. This time he just avoids Rita. He gets to the shore and lets his squad die. So he gets in the chopper by himself and he flies it to the dam. He goes to the Omega and he gets attacked, but they don't try to kill him. And so I guess here they pick up on that his death restarts time. So now they know. And then he like kind of like and it like the tendrils on the alpha like cuts his blood open, which I'm guessing maybe that's when it realizes something or whatever. That's when it realizes what's going on here because it tastes its blood and it's like, oh, that's like mine or something like that. And then he kind of like scoots away in like some sort of like crevice and is able to drown himself in it as they're trying to grab him or something like that. So that's how he's able to drown himself to reset the time. And then he says that the Omega wasn't at the dam, and so it was a trap. Which I don't know how intentional that is or whatever, but yeah, we'll just believe it for whatever. So
Yeah, it sounds good.
we'll chalk it up to like we don't know how these aliens think.
Everyone's been factored in on we got to get to this dam for like the last act.
Yeah,
and then that's all a deception.
Which again, like to a human mind, that would be deception. But who knows what the alien mind is thinking about? So. So they meet with Carter again, and so we have the discarded random device is now useful. So he says like he built a prototype that they have in Whitehall, I think is what they called it.
Yeah.
And General Brigham has it, so they have to go get that because the one he has doesn't work, but he says the other one that they have will. And for some reason, even though he's a brilliant scientist who seems to know everything about the aliens, they kicked him out of it for reasons that they didn't, they didn't like his conclusions on how aliens work, even though he's the only one that knows what's going on. So.
Yeah, it seems again like one of those things. It's like let's make everyone dumb.
So yeah, they're saying like so they wanted to use it on Alpha, and so that if they could trace the mimic network back to the Omega, and so now they theorize if they if being that Cage basically has Omega-like blood, if they use it on him, then they'll be able to trace it. Which doesn't really make sense because they just have him stab the device in it, and he sees visions, and that's how they do it. I figured like the device would stab, and then like you'd see like a hollow
come up.
Yeah. Oh well, it's fine, whatever. So yeah, Rita and Cage use the power of reset to sneak into Whitehall to talk to General Brigham, which again, this is the first time we'll see in it, but it's implied that, this is like, the 80th time they've done this. Because he like tells her like, all right, just look forward and look down slightly. This guy in the yellow-red band, or the guy in the yellow band always notices you, so he doesn't notice him this time. And then then he talks to the general. He's basically sitting there, basically telling him everything that's about to happen. And so that eventually convinces the general to just hand over the device, which, like, it's also implied that, he's so stubborn that the talking to him never works, and that other times they just shoot him and get the device somehow. Or maybe they never get into the safe, but this time they do. And then Rita kind of looks at him and is like, well, "What are we gonna do?" I was like, "I don't know. I've never been this far before." And then they like go outside, and then they're just like immediately like they're like ambushed by the guards or whatever. Um, and then Rita has her gun, so she just kills Cage immediately. So we reset, and now they've basically done all that again. But now they've like stolen a car in a parking lot and they're escaping. And the Cage shoves the device in his leg, and he gets visions that the Omega is in the Louvre art museum in France, which is cool.
In the pyramid.
Yeah, it's like in the pyramid, and France is flooded, so it's all like, hey, this is a cool location. So, yeah, they get outside, and the car eventually gets stopped by a guy in a power jacket, and then Rita and Cage like pass out, and I guess from the wound of stabbing him in the leg makes him bleed out, and so when he wakes up, we see like the black oil kind of disappear from his eyes, very X-Files.
Yeah.
So this indicates that his reset power is gone, and then he sees like the blood transfusion, so that's when he knows like, uh-oh, my power's gone. Which I don't know how much blood has to be transfused out. It seems like any, but whatever. So
Yeah, it doesn't. There's nothing.
I don't need to know.
Yeah, how many milliliters exactly?
Sometimes you overanalyze a movie. So
Yeah, you're just along for the ride.
This is a fun, interesting sci-fi movie, so I don't know if I need to harp on it so much. I do like this movie, so whatever.
Yeah, it's fun.
He's like tied to a cot, and then it gets flipped around, almost like comically so, when he's trying to escape. Where it's like, yeah, he's like upside down, but like the bed ends are like suspending him just enough so he doesn't hit the floor, but he's still like completely stuck to it. Also, like nobody's guarding him, but but hey, we've tied him to it. But he also thinks Rita's dead at this point. Let's see here. Oh yeah, Rita comes in. She she flips him back around. She's about to stab him to death, but he's able to like, hey, I don't have my power anymore. Don't kill me. So that's a fun little moment. And so like she cuts him out. So they don't have the reset ability anymore, and they need to get to the Omega before the invasion because this is still before this is still before the invasion. We cut to Cage. Convinces J Squad to help them get to the Louvre like by tonight.
Yeah.
So he does that by like, basically like telling the whole team about the things they learned about themselves. Oh, there's one here that's really weird because there's one guy is named Ford, and he says his name's not Ford. That was his friend that he's impersonating, who died in the first battle he went into. But now he's impersonating him just so he can get money to send to his friend's parents.
Yeah.
Why? Does he need to do it that way? Why can't he just join the army and send money to his friend's parents?
I don't know. You think his family would get death benefits from the army, and then he could sue under his name, but maybe that's not how this world works.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was a weird. Like I thought it was like, oh, he's like scamming somebody, but then like the way they say it's like he's trying to help somebody, but how would that be better than it would otherwise? And so I have no idea what's going on.
A certain like weird. Oblique nobility.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like Sergeant Farrow when he asked him, like, "You're an American," and he says, "No,
I'm from Kentucky."
Clearly an American. He's like, "No, I'm from like, where was it? Like,
I thought he said Kentucky.
Yeah, it was Kentucky.
Oh, it was like Science something Kentucky or something.
Yeah, Science Hill.
Science Hill. Yeah.
But it's like, what do you mean you're not an American? So everyone in the military, it seems like, especially in J Squad, has kind of a weird backstory and a cockeyed view of the world.
Yeah. Because Cage says he's from Cranberry, New Jersey, where apparently they have great tomatoes. Because Farrell's like, why do they call it cranberry? They have cranberries there. He's like, nope. And then like he tries to retort. It's like, why do they call it Science Hill? And he's like, I don't care. I didn't ask.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not having a conversation here.
So yeah, then we have the team on their way because like they get J Squad, but they also con a couple of pilots and steal a VTOL. So I don't know how that happens, but whatever. So there's thousands of these things, so one goes missing.
I think things are pretty fast and loose with the United Defense Forces.
Yeah.
because they're also waiting for a Chinese army to march all the way across the Eurasian Peninsula to back them up.
Yeah.
They want to catch the mimics in a pincer movement. It's like so a billion Chinese soldiers in mech suits are also
Oh,
heading
okay.
away, or so, not a billion, but it
Yeah.
would be a lot. Because
Um,
China and India, yeah, it would be a billion like
yeah.
soldiers together if everyone was working together.
Um, so yeah, the team's on their way. They go over, but they can't kill an alpha. This is where they tell you they can't kill an alpha, or else time will reset. And if time resets now, they won't remember anything.
Yeah, they'll be lost. They'll be back to square one.
At least I think. Or how would you think it would work?
What if somebody else killed an alpha
Yeah.
and got his blood? Well, they would reset from that point.
Okay.
It would be a bad spawn point because it would be right blue. So you
Shit!
right.
What's my last autosave?
Yeah. Well, it just basically the immortality is off now, so
Yeah.
now it's real fight. The stakes are much higher.
Yeah,
And
but it's not only like that they die, but if they kill the wrong thing, then they basically die anyways.
Yeah,
so.
they essentially lose for whatever reason.
The VTOL gets hit and they start dropping. Cage is still in the VTOL when it crashes because he's kind of like in the Pharaoh role at this point because he was like walking in that middle peril thing, like making everyone drop. So he's not like lined up here. So he just kind of like falls out of the VTOL and crashes in the water, and he sinks to the bottom in his rig. And then we cut to he surfaces without his rig because I'm pretty sure he can't swim with the rig. They also do some like little like electronic stuff here, implying that the suit got shorted out or whatever, so it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, which seems like a short-sighted and a piece of military equipment. All environments, but
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, with a shore landing.
Yeah.
um
Just don't get it, but trust me, dumber things have happened.
yeah. So yeah, he swims ashore, or well, they're in France. I don't know where the Louvre is. Is that in
It's in the heart of Paris.
Paris? Okay. And then Paris is flooded or something. It looks
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, it's bad. What's the river? The River Send? I don't know. There's one that goes. Yeah, if no one was there maintaining those systems, it would flood.
Okay, all right.
It's like Detroit, like Life After People. It's like, oh, it's gone in 3 weeks. Basically floats on pumps in an island.
Okay. I didn't know. I guess I didn't know Paris was like had to be maintained like that. So I didn't.
Oh,
know.
all those old cities and even
Okay.
newer ones that are built on rivers, where the produce and stuff came down. It's like, oh yeah, New York would just sink into the ocean if no one was there to paint it. I mean, that's why when they get hit by hurricanes, it's a disaster because all their millions of pumps and stuff get overwhelmed.
So yeah, the team huddle with the sit rep, like after like half the team's like dead. There's like that one lady who's like has a southern accent. She's just, like she always gets lines, but then she's just dead here, so she never does anything for the team. So I feel kind of bad for her. So.
Yeah.
They're low on everything. Like they're out of ammo. They don't have enough energy somehow. I think Griff's rig is like either he's messed up or his rig is messed up. I can't remember. Like they make us.
Oh, which I thought he got his head rattled.
Okay.
But I could be wrong.
Well, I thought they almost made it sound like he's been paralyzed, but because he's in his rig, he can still walk around. But
that could be, yeah.
I think you have to move the rig legs with your legs. They're just power assisted, so maybe that's not the case.
Oh, okay.
That would be interesting.
I thought he was concussed, but
yeah, he is messed up. So, so yeah, they're planning to take. I don't know if this is like a different VTOL or the same one they came in, but they need to get like 100 yards, and like they just want to start this VTOL up and basically have it like fly them forward and crash next to the Louvre. That's their plans. They just need to just get that far. So Griff and Crash are these two other guys. They set up an ambush for the mimics at a fuel truck, and they just kind of unceremoniously blow themselves up and kill a bunch of mimics. But there's still like tons more left, so they don't really. It's more of a distraction rather than actually like taking out numbers really here. So, yeah, they're flying the VTOL barely off the ground. Ford's with them. He's like manning a door gun here, but then he just gets pulled out of it and ripped out and killed. And then Cage takes over the gunner position, but he doesn't have his rig. Yeah, he doesn't have his rig suit anymore. So, neither does um, Rita, because now she's flying it. So he's just like in this like the gunner suit, like shooting down aliens, and then they crash the VTOL in the Louvre, and they just like
And by the way, the action scenes, now that you know, like it's important he doesn't die, they get twice as insane as they were at the point in the movie. It's like the most crazy because they're like flying along the surface of the water at like Mach 10. It seems it's like, well, if he gets
and he flies. They hit the Louvre, and he flies out of it and hits like a metal slab like 20 feet down, and just kind of like they limp after this scene, but he wouldn't be really, but he immediately gets up and starts moving. So
that would be a casualty of it. Like he would crush sternum or something.
I don't know. Maybe he's learned how to fall after so many deaths. So So they make their way down a further hole, down into like the basement or whatever of the Louvre. Like I don't know like the actual structure of the Louvre here. So
I don't know. You've never been there. Want to go, but they don't want tourists there anymor. So I guess I never go. When they moved to Boulder, Colorado, for the preservation of Western civilization, the Louvre, they've actually talked about that. It's sad.
They make their way down the basement, avoiding being killed because we have a bunch of things right here. He lands on top of a car, and then she lands on the car, and then he like rolls off with her, and then like it's crushed by a slab of like rock. And then they kind of have a moment. It's like, hey, we're touching each other, but then it's whatever. So it's not really what this movie's about. But
I guess all the romantic stuff in this was actually improvised by Emily Blunt. Was not in the script, like them touching each other, and then there's a later kiss that happens.
Yeah,
and she's like, look, there has to be some humanity between these characters. But that was not part of the script. She vetoed and put that in.
Okay.
Probably because she was like.
So that felt more like a producer note. Like, we got to have a love story. That's usually like a poorly implemented love story is usually the result of like producer interference. But here it's all right because it's just little things. It's not like a full-on romance. It's just like we're human beings. We've been through a lot. So
I gather from the vibe of this movie, it was a fairly intense production, considering Tom Cruise walked off of Oblivion 5 days before and started production on this. He's an intense guy because that's his nature.
Yeah.
But I think everyone had a good idea, had a good time, and they felt like, I want to participate.
Yeah.
We're all getting along. We're vibing well. I want to participate in the creative process. At least that's what I hope happens.
Yeah. Rita gets killed by an alpha, I think, right? It's kind of weird.
Yes.
Okay. You see them like face off, and then like they just kind of have it cover the camera. I was like, well, I think she's dead. So
she chose to die without fighting back because remember, she didn't want to kill one of those things.
Yeah.
So she basically sacrificed herself and just let it kill her.
Yeah.
So he could, proceed towards the Omega.
Yeah. So he swims down to the Omega. He gets mortally wounded by an alpha as he drops the explosives. Where we have the good shows off him pulling all the rings off the explosives.
Which is this is the second time Tom Cruise has done this because he did this in War of the Worlds also.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly.
The Martian anus
thing. Yes.
And they pulled him out, and he opens his hand, and all these pins from the grenades come out. So
does he? No. Does he spit them out of his mouth in that one?
Or maybe he does. Yeah.
But it's still exactly like a satchel of explosives on on a what do you call it? Like a nylon belt thing or whatever. So
yeah, a bandolier of grenades.
Yes.
Second time in 2005 in Worlds, and they did it again
a decade later.
Him pins are released, and it's like, oh, he won. Both times, he won because he was the only guy that destroyed a Martian war machine until the viruses that they were getting made their shields malfunction. The army guys just fired rockets into them. It's like, we don't care if they fall on civilians.
He drops the explosive on the Omega, which it just kind of gets absorbed into its brain, and then it explodes. It explodes inside of there, and then the Omega kind of dying, kind of releases this EMP blast that wave that blows out, and then you see like kind of like all the other mimics as the wave hits them, they just kind of like crystallize and turn into dust, all basically.
Yeah.
And then we see like a still alive Cage sinks into the remains of the Omega, and he's like covered in blood. And then
Yes.
we reset, even though there's not a thing to reset, but whatever.
Now he has Omega blood.
Yeah,
Because he has a huge spear hole in his chest.
yeah.
Those things speared him, so he's soaking in that blood.
Yeah. Um.
Which then he becomes the Omega and conquers humanity. No, that was
This time he wakes up in the reset. He wakes up in the chopper on his way to meet General Brigham. So he's gone back even farther.
yes.
And we hear like the celebration bells chiming, and like the war is over. Then we see the general give a speech about how the enemy are unable to fight, and like forces are moving in from like, Russia and China are moving in on, which I don't know if he's saying they're unable to fight. So I don't know if that means like they're dead and desiccated like we just saw previously, or now they're just aimless things that are just like standing still and being shot to death.
You don't get any explanation. Oh, by the way, this scene where he lands, they actually land in Trafalgar Square in London.
Okay.
It's like that's like giving a movie permission to land on the White House lawn to do that. So it was actually a big deal. They landed this helicopter.
That's Tom Cruise pole for you.
Yeah. Well, they weren't able to film him getting off of it there.
Oh, okay.
They're just like land this thing and take off. But
Okay, huh?
they don't let people do that because it's like a security.
Yeah.
There was a time when it was fun or whatever, and then people started flying planes into like the World Trade Center, and then all of a sudden, like having random aircraft around is not a good idea.
Yeah.
So don't get to do that anymore.
Now, you ever see that interesting training exercise they did in Australia where they like fly like a C-130 or whatever, like transport plane like at like 100 feet off the ground through the city?
Yes, I've seen that.
It's like a training exercise.
That's there was some kind of drop exercise they were doing. They wanted to prove that it would be stable that close to the ground for whatever they were doing.
Okay.
Because we said it would be, and the Australians are like, we don't believe it. It's like, try it. Right, mate, we'll do that. And then they did it. It's like, because we can do things like that like hundreds of times. They don't have as many avenues for that. We don't know if we believe you. And they just did it in an actual city like lunatics. Do it in like a desert and like, yeah, this will work. C-130 is probably the most amazing aircraft ever built. If you look at all the things they do with it, and where they land and take off from, it's like that thing's just gonna crash. There's no way. And
well, I don't think they used the C-130. They had one with like it had jet engines on it, but it was still a big,
that's like the Galaxy, the big supply thing. No, the one with propellers is the one that impresses me. That's my favorite military aircraft because it's like a World War II bomber, but it's modern, and it's like they can land in the craziest like, oh, turn all the lights off, and then they're just pulling like a 3D night vision screen, but they still have the old ass controls and stuff. And they're like, yeah, there's the runway, and and they show these people these cockpit landings. Lights off because if they had lights on, someone would be shooting shit at them. And they just land in dirt. And they're like, yeah, we're fine. We're okay. It's like, that's a crazy.
Or someone's like, what else could we do this? Like, well, if we put a bunch of guns on one side of it and just flew around a circle and emptied it
would be the most devastating thing ever. Yeah.
Well, even the Russians still use the Tupolev, which is like a crazy, basically World War II airplane.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And they the Ukrainians blew up a bunch of them the other day. So.
Oh yeah.
With drones, suicide drones.
Suicide drones. That's kind of like Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
You just got the VR helmet on, and you're like, I don't know how to speak Ukrainian, but whatever they're saying Ukrainian to be excited, and then it's just like the screen goes white, and it's like, where's my next drone? I achieved my mission.
Yeah, that's like so. Now they have robot lawnmowers.
Yeah,
so it'd be like a Roomba, but like I don't know if I trust that. But then I was thinking like, You really couldn't, you know, it wouldn't take that much to like just apply remote controls to your lawnmower and then just sit in your sofa and mow the lawn through like it's a video game.
When I go for walks around here, I see them occasionally.
Oh yeah.
I'll be out walking and they'll be like, wah, and they're electric, but they're still kind of loud.
Yeah.
But then because you watch them and then it'll go up and stop, and then all of a sudden it just turns.
Yeah.
It's like, that's sort of weird. But then you look at what they cost and it's like, well, that's stupid.
Oh yeah. I have a Roomba and that thing was $500 more expensive than it needed to be.
Yeah.
For what it does.
I have 3 Shark vacuum cleaners or 2 Shark vacuum cleaners.
I have this. I mean, I have this Samsung hand vac that I use more than my Roomba goes on. Really, what my Roomba does well is that, like, in the morning when you see like light shining through here, you know how you can see like the dust particles in the air. So
yeah,
like before I had the Roomba, you could see that a lot, and then after I have the Roomba, it's like, oh, there's much less dust in here because the Roomba's picking it up. Because I've never actually like had to empty out the bag on the base station because it doesn't pick up enough stuff to say it's full. So it's just all dust that it's picking up, really. So.
I have my Shark air purifiers, one upstairs and one downstairs. And when you burn a candle, like the ring turns orange.
Yeah.
And it's 76% air purity and dropping. Candle out, then it goes down to 50%. It turns red, and then it goes back up to 100. But in the basement where I have one running, whenever I'm really filing on my models or whatever, now I've never had it pick up the paint. It never changes. So that means that's good because it means my fume system's working. I'm really filing on the models and dust is going everywhere. All of a sudden you'll hear it kick up. Like, whoa. It's like 80%, you know. So they must be doing something. But yeah, I don't have any robot vacuum cleaners yet.
So now with Cage, he goes to the deployment base, but now he's as an officer because he doesn't get, you know,
demoted.
Yeah, he doesn't get stripped of his rank.
Like a major?
Yeah, he's a major.
Okay.
Which it seems to be more of a ceremonial thing rather than his actual rank. So.
Yeah, because he's a major in like public relations.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So. Marines have public relations. I thought they pared all that down.
No, because like that's what Rob Riggle was.
Oh, okay.
That's what he did. That's what JD Vance did.
I knew JD Vance worked for like the newspaper or whatever. Like he was a reporter essentially.
Yeah. But yeah, like I know specifically like Rob Riggle was like media relations for the Marine Corps.
Oh, okay. I always think the Marines are just like, yeah, we got rid of all that shit.
I don't know, that's still around. So
yeah,
officers got to do stuff. You know, officers got to do stuff. You know.
It's probably necessary. You got to explain things to the public.
Anyway.
Yeah. It's just the Army has like 100,000 people doing it. And you guys probably had like
yeah, we do multitasking. So
yeah,
that's why like, you know, we're also like the only branch of the military that works in a budget or so.
Yeah, you don't have nukes, so you don't have that unlimited budget of
like no, like we're the most cost efficient part of the military because how we do things.
Well, I just like it. They're like, yeah, we don't want tanks anymore. It's like they're not fast enough.
I don't. Yeah, it's been a while, but I don't because like there's like a new squad system where like you have like they have like a new grenade launcher, which that was never like, that was just like a guy with an M204 on an M16 before. Where now it's like, now they have like all these different weird grenade launchers. You have like a drone guy that does like forward recon for every squad. So it's like, here's 5 guys. One's a drone guy. One's a grenade guy. And here's and like, they have the new, like, I don't know if they have saws anymore because they're supposed to have like, it's just like an M16 that's just a full, now everyone has a full auto rifle, whereas before it was like.
Full auto again?
Yeah, everything's full auto now as far as I know.
It's probably like mega compensated, so it's more efficient.
But then, it's eventually they're all supposed to switch over to that spear. So who knows? So,
I like the throw drones that the guys, the ones that they just grab them off their back and throw them. They used to have more. They'd go in and look for people in buildings. Now they have throw drones that you just throw them and they just fly up in the air. It's like, that's pretty wild. I think the Israelis use those. They always have the weird, like, we're going to develop the strangest weapons.
Fear is a great motivator.
Yeah. Well, they get a lot of experience. I didn't realize, like, let's have gun talk now. They were talking about carrying a gun in, like, what was it, type 1, type 2, or type 3, which is basically different iterations of do you have one in the chamber or not.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
the Israeli doctrine is never carry, unless you're special forces, you don't carry a chambered round in any gun.
yeah.
It's like, that's weird. Why is that? And then the guy explained it's like the length of service in the IDF is mandatory, but it's only like a year and a half. So we can't up train people constantly to be safe with guns all the time. So we're like, you ever have a bullet in the chamber? You won't accidentally shoot anyone if you never have a round in the chamber. It's like, oh, I didn't realize their length of service was so short. But it's like, okay, but it's compulsory service for everyone. So it's like, hey, how are we going to train people just off the street to not like shoot people accidentally with their guns? It's like, don't ever have a round in the chamber unless your sergeant tells you to. It's like, okay, that works. Yeah, that's why we have this whole weird draw cock. They drill that all the time. Draw cock, draw cock. They have their rifles over their shoulders. It's like, rack it back immediately.
Yeah, there's 4 conditions your weapon can be in, but it applies across different ones. So I think it's like condition 2 doesn't apply to like your M16, but it applies when you have like a belt-fed weapon.
Okay.
Because it's really there's like something I don't know if I remember exactly like, but it's fucking weird. There's something backwards about a belt-fed weapon where it's like putting it on safe actually means you have the bolt forward, no round in the chamber, and your weapon's on fire. And that's the safe position.
Well, believe it or not, I have no experience with weapons, so I guess.
Because when it's forward, it's not ready to fire, but on M16, that's like it's ready to fire if a bullet's in the chamber. But the way belt-fed weapons work is it grabs the bullet and detonates it at the same time.
Interesting. Okay.
So if it's forward,
that makes sense. Yeah.
So when it's forward, it can't fire because it doesn't have the room to do that. But when it's pulled back, then it's ready to fire. So.
Okay. Sounds like firing from the open bolt. Open bolt guns are weird. I've only experienced one. It was an Uzi.
Yeah, because you pull the trigger and ka-chunk, and then it fires.
I'm like, what kind of ancient shit is that? How do you get that first round accurate? Oh, you don't.
Yeah.
Because I was firing one. Of course, it was semi-automatic because I'm a normal human being.
Yeah.
I don't have access to fully automatic.
Open bolt semi-auto? That's got to be fucking weird as hell.
It's stupid. You can't hit shit with it because you're like, aim, and it's like, chunk, clip, boom. Over here now, obviously. Oh, you flinched. It's like, no, I didn't flinch. A pound of steel started reciprocating. This much surface to hang on to. It's like, this gun sucks. I never want to see this thing. Oh, I thought Uzis were cool. It's like not in semi-automatic. They're not.
Yeah. Yeah, in saws you can technically you can jam a magazine into it, like an M16 magazine into it and fire from it. I never did that, but I always wanted to try. It's like, I gotta see this. Like some Swiss guy built this function in this fucking thing. Let's see it work.
There's a reason these cost $4,000. I want to know why.
Well, it would seem useless at that point. It's like, why fire 30 rounds from this thing when you can fire it more accurately from an M16? But technically, a saw because it has a heavier barrel, it has actually like a more effective, longer distance to it.
Yeah, what do they call that? Like a suppression weapon or something?
Yeah. You're not meant to be on target with it. You're supposed to suppress an area with it. So. Yeah, you're supposed to fire bullets at guys so they'll put their head down so the other guys in your crew can run in or out of them and come around behind them and shoot them. So.
I always like how VX was euphemistically described as an area denial weapon. Just like they said about like all those the plastic landmines and stuff. It's like these are area denial weapons. It's like, oh, they're just lingering death for it. That sounds a little ruthless. I guess they wanted to put chips in them that would detonate them after a certain point.
Yeah.
But then they were like, well, the Russians can hack that feature. And they'll just detonate just as soon as they go out.
That'd be
It's
like a
like,
video game.
yeah, yeah. Well, they would detonate them in the plane that was dropping them.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because the Ruskies will do shit like that. They're ruthless. They don't. Because they figured out how to just completely misdirect GPS. They're really good at jamming it. They're not good at doing it themselves.
Well, we know how to do it wrong, so what if we did it wrong for everybody else?
Yeah. No, the Russians are excellent at jamming. They are excellent. They can jam radar, communications. They're still really, really good at that. But they're not so good at like having secure communication. They just can jam it. It's like, well, blind. It's called, what do they call it? Blinding the field or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like if you have to just use hand signals and flashlights, it's like we train our guys to do that. And it's like, oh yeah, a bunch of drunk conscripts are gonna kick everyone's ass. Sure. We know how this works. Anyway, let's wrap up. I'm gonna get in trouble.
So yeah, Cage, like he's near this deployment base as an officer, and he goes to Rita, who's like miffed at his presence once again, because like this is the first time they're meeting, in her context. And then Cage just smirks and laughs at this. And credits. I wanna know.
It's a great Tom Cruise like smirk.
Yeah.
Freeze frame.
Big white teeth smiling. So
yeah, they've done this before with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the end of Edge of Tomorrow. A very fun action sci-fi movie with interesting concepts. So.
Yeah, very complicated concepts to get across to people in an action movie. And really weird and truly alien aliens.
Yeah.
So not a lot of movies achieve that. Aliens are just like things that look weird but have the same motivations we do. It's like, not these guys.
So Nathan, if he dies like 100 years from this position, do you think he resets? Or is there nothing to reset?
It's gone. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because victory conditions have been met. Now, we don't know, because supposedly there was going to be a sequel to this if it performed well.
Yeah.
But I don't know what that was going to be. Because it's like, well, yeah, the mimics showed up and were basically destroying any defense we tried to put up against them until, like, 2 people accidentally absorbed their blood and figured out it's like, oh, they're not really that smart. They can just replay this scenario.
Yeah.
And are we going to get that technology now? Are they going to cut these things up? Is that going to be the future war?
Yeah, because if you make a sequel to this, I imagine you have to use its conceit of it to work.
It said it would be a prequel. That's how it was described.
Oh, okay. Go back to Emily Blunt's character winning Verdun or whatever.
Could be. I'm not sure. It's never been. I guess it didn't make enough money to even materialize.
Yeah. Yeah. This is one of those bummers of where it's like, how much money would this have to make to be considered successful? It seems like you're going in. Yeah.
Well, until I watched the movie for the show, I just assumed it was a success.
Yeah.
Because when I went and saw it with my son, it was a packed house. It's like, yeah, this is a Tom Cruise movie. It's got great characters. It's a cool story. It's going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then I hear, like, when doing research for the show, like, years later, it's like, it actually underperformed. It's like, really? Okay. Yeah. I guess.
Yeah, it's a bummer. Because this should have influenced movies, but it didn't because it didn't make enough money back. So
yeah. This is the best Tom Cruise movie in a long time, really.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you really love the Mission Impossible universe and stuff, like, this is a really cool movie for him to be in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, it's like innovative. There's not much like it. Like the suits were cool. It's funny.
Yeah. It's dark.
Yeah.
It's a weird idea. If you just sit down and wrap your head around that idea, it's like, yeah, fuck this.
Yeah, this guy's gonna die all over and over and over again to try to like save humanity. It's like, well, that seems grim. It's like, yeah, but it's kind of funny. Like, gets ran over by a truck trying to do like a suave roll under a truck as like a and then Master Sergeant just berates him. He's like, what was he thinking? Well, we're sending a probe in space containing the supercut of scenes from the imperfect collection that is the Verhoeven Effect. Nathan, what one scene for this movie are we shoving into space?
Well, we're gonna have to do the initial landing
Okay.
because that explains everything that's like wrong with this guy and why he's obviously not gonna live. And then it opens the possibility of like, what's that? The movie didn't just end in 30 minutes. Like, so it entices the audience.
Yeah.
I would have to say that's the best scene. It's definitely the most expensive and craziest scene.
So much they get to repeat it. So
Yeah, they essentially recreated the D-Day invasion. I guess it was the biggest one of the biggest green screens something was shot at until that time.
okay.
Because like the explosions and stuff were real, but the whole background of all these things landing or whatever, of course, that was actually filmed.
Yeah.
But they had to do these really tall green screens because they wanted the people to, and a lot of the actors, other than being at a safe distance, they didn't exactly know when the explosions were going to happen. So you get a lot of people like flinching and like, yeah, that would really actually happen because it was pretty crazy.
You can find us at Letterboxd, username VHE, 1 out of 5 stars. What are we giving The Edge of Tomorrow?
Well, we're going to give it 5 stars for being original, for being cool, and for expressing complex ideas in an action movie that doesn't take you out of the action.
Yeah.
See, this is what I called no unnecessary exposition. It's like we have to have exposition here.
Yeah.
We do it in a way where it's like, okay, I can get these concepts, let's move. And then if you're like, but wait, why wouldn't this happen? See, that's when you're going to like shortfall yourself short by getting too
deep, like
time loops and stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, like especially like with like their last go of it, it's like, oh, we got to go out there before the invasion happens, where it's like, you should have been doing this the entire time, but it's a movie, so whatever.
Yeah. You had to learn this ability and understand it. You had to try everything that most people would try. It's like, let's warn everyone. It's like, they're going to think you're nuts. They're not on this ride with you. So, yeah, that's did a very good job of getting that across.
Well, you can find us at verhoeveneffect.com. There we have listener support. You can support us on a monthly site with 99 cents, 49 or 99. Cancel any time. You can rate our podcast wherever you want, but the only thing the algorithm listens to is the highest rating. Remember, you must control the algorithm. Control the AI, control the algorithm. They're all under your control.
Yeah, they're all mimics at the end. They're all mimicking humanity.
Let us have the incidental boon from from their misfortunes of lying to it.
Let be the weapon that defeats robot overlords.
You can find us at Twitter at Verhoeven Effect. You can find us at Blue Sky Social at Verhoeven Effect, and you can find us on Facebook at Verhoeven Effect, and you can find us on YouTube at American Greed Factory and watch both this and that show live and unedited. So for the Verhoeven Effect podcast, I'm Conlon.
And I'm Nathan.